I guess real quick, I don't really know what to kind of... obviously we got two things going on. I'll just touch the one major thing going on.
Oh, I see what you did there.
See what I did there? We'll get there real quick. Hold on.
Spicy.
All right.
Hold on with this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 33 of Tardy to the Party, a.k.a.
T3P.
The weekly podcast centered around the holy trinity of pop culture.
The double holy.
Holy.
Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. I'm your boy, J-Sib, and to my left, as always.
It's KP.
And to my right, as always.
The Bull.
I'm going to do a little housekeeping to start off a little bit. To those that are pay attention to our YouTube channel, thank you so much. As you may or may have not noticed,
Housekeeping? You want me to jerk you off?
Whoa!
Hey.
Is that an option?
Always.
What kind of hotel is this?
Is that an option?
Is that an option?
So we all kind of realize that it's sometimes, especially for newer people that may not know who we are, it's a little daunting to see a 2.5, potentially 3-hour podcast episode on YouTube. So we're going to try to break them up into segments to where it's like, DC news, Marvel news, Star Wars news, and then break up the reviews as well into separate videos. Because you also may realize...
Maybe some people don't give a shit about Star Wars.
Exactly.
And they only want to hear DC.
Exactly. And
or some people only give a shit about Marvel and don't care about the other two. Or
This,
maybe they only give a shit about... Well, what are they talking about with what Disney puts out? I don't really care about DC because whatever, people are wired different. So
That's true.
It's actually a good idea.
It's choices.
So we're pretty aware, and obviously it's good for us in a way to be able to branch out because smaller videos, but with that, maybe more engagements, and maybe people can actually figure out who we are, get to know our personalities, our community, and can join us.
Get some,
So, just wanted to
hardcore hate from some
throw
Snyder
that out
fans.
there.
Being awesome.
So on YouTube, at least, you're probably gonna see. I feel like it's gonna work better if I just post the full podcast first, because I feel like it might be a little jarring for some that have been paying attention to the full weekly podcast. If all of a sudden I just start releasing it in segments and then drop the full episode, so I think I'm gonna try to get the full episode done first, because honestly, it makes it, quite frankly, easier to edit the other videos after everything's done anyway. So,
okay.
So you'll probably start seeing main episode drop first, hopefully on Tuesday, and then throughout the week you'll probably see the different segments drop and reviews. I think I'm going to try to get the review segments out first, so look for those probably first, and then the news will probably drop after that. But that ends housekeeping. So let's go into DC news this week, and we're going to start off with everybody's, especially the Bulls' favorite segment, James Gunn Weekly Tweets.
Yes. Yes. Give it to me.
On Twitter, James Gunn did confirm, because that's how I kind of like it. I love it.
Hey. At least it's directly from the source.
That's exactly.
That's kind of why this is awesome that he does this.
And I just love that he just talks shit and stirs shit up. I love it.
It's really what the guy that's apparently, writing the next Avengers movies and all that, is probably what he should start doing. Get on Twitter, bro. People don't know you. We want to know stuff that's to come.
Tease us. We didn't want to hear you talk about stuff. Tweet about things.
Yeah.
But he posted a picture of him and the Guardians crew on set, and somebody asked, "Is Creature Commandos coming out in 2024?" And he replied, "Yes." So we got a confirmation that Creature Commandos is coming out in 2024, which is actually, we had kind of talked about this earlier about how probably quite a few episodes ago, about how we would probably go into a big drought with DC of content after Aquaman 2, which drops at the end of 2023.
Yes.
But it doesn't seem like because we kind of forgot that these animated properties were going to come out before Superman Legacy. So not as long as of a drought. even if it comes out at the end of 2024, it's a year, which might not be a bad idea. If they're rebooting, maybe give a little bit of time to like, okay, the end of this universe, here's the new one.
Yeah, it would certainly lower the fatigue we always talk about. I mean, especially.
I just can't wait to talk about something that's horrendously stupid and bad, and it's good that it's gone from DC. Bring it up in a minute once he's done with his new segments. But back to James Gunn.
Back to James Gunn's new segment.
I was very upset that we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry.
Also on Creature Commandos, he did confirm that they've already got live action plans for some of those characters already, which we kind of talked about last week, which was so exciting about some of those announcements. So
Definitely.
Live action plans are already set. I would imagine David Harbour is probably one of those people.
One of the biggest names out there right now.
Dude,
probably.
And it's such a good casting, dude. He's doing such a good job. That's a thing for sure.
That's probably part of the pitch to him, like, hey, we're gonna get going on live stuff. Don't worry, man.
Yeah.
You aren't just gonna be a Wizard of Oz behind the curtain with your voice acting.
You're just setting it up.
Yeah.
Set it up with the voice, deliver with the live action.
And then to shift over, it was, I believe, Superman anniversary this week. And James Gunn officially confirmed that Superman Legacy is in early pre-production. So now, costume designs are getting put in place. Cast lists are actually getting put together now.
I did hear that.
I think he even alluded maybe earlier today that they've definitely got some people that they're targeting for Superman or Clark Kent, and he seems like he's pretty excited with the batch that he's got to pick from. So ball's starting to roll, and then along with Superman Legacy, someone asked, will Jimmy Olsen be in the movie? And he confirmed saying, OFC. So for all the people that did hate on, the Snyderverse and the lack, I mean, Jimmy Olsen technically does appear. That's why BVS Ultimate Edition is a superior edition. He is in that, even though you probably won't like how he's used anyway, so whatever.
Right.
Because he's not used in quite the traditional way. But
is that 2 back-to-back 3-letter responses?
He's short and concise, He doesn't want to leave his stuff open for interpretation.
That's
he's
true.
Like,
it's almost like he's in his pocket. I could just kind of throw it out.
That's probably what it is.
Little treat for him.
So, also, James Gunn has been kind of getting under fire this week because, and honestly, it's kind of been over the last few months ever since they've started the marketing for Guardians 3. Everyone, or not everyone, a vocal few are giving James Gunn crap for basically promoting Marvel properties while he's the head of DC. Quote, the worst business that DC could do was hire someone who advertises the competition. Unbelievable. Now, can you imagine what their moves are going to be like? Or movies are going to be like? I think it's a disaster.
Oh, God.
So James Gunn replies, the last thing DC would want is someone who would spend the last 12 years of his life creating a series of films and then turn his back on the last movie he created and poured his heart and soul into, as well as his collaborators and investors. I wasn't hired at DC without everyone on board being very clear and supportive up front and continuously throughout this process. Some of you are just dumb.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Oh, it's dumb. Yeah.
It's just they open their mouths and a lot of unthought of words.
They just don't understand how business works at all.
No.
I
mean, and even
well, to them, it's just like
it's got to honor both parties.
They're making it like political in a sense, where it's like, no, you got to be this one or the other. How dare you?
Us and them.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that sportsmanship a little bit to a degree. Not you have to like this one or the other, but the whole I like this one better than this. Which one's better? I like that whole argument.
Yeah.
That's the fun part about superhero debates, as well as like, who would win in this fight if they were 1-on-1?
Dude,
like
all
those classic fun combos.
Armor sharpens iron every time, and the more competition happens, the better the movies get. It has to. I mean, otherwise you'll just you'll be irrelevant. So.
Oh, kind of like with what we saw with Phase 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean.
Rest in peace. pays for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah,
Whatever.
or not.
Whatever.
I mean,
Whatever.
honestly, kind of thank you for being so bad because they learned their lesson from it. So, slowing down.
That's good. That's good. We'll see if it pays off.
Fingers crossed. We'll know in a month here. So,
True.
a few weeks actually.
Dude, that's crazy. Just sneaks up on you, man.
I know it does.
So that actually officially ends the weekly James Gunn tweet segment. So. Thank you, James, as always.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us in the news and the know and the what how, you know. But this kind of segment from James Gunn weekly tweets, Russo brothers. The Russo brothers were in an interview recently. I think it was with Fandango, or Fandango broke this. They kind of got asked about the DC and what James Gunn's doing over there, and if they would kind of be interested. And quote, "We don't get asked a lot about DC characters," Joe Russo admitted. James Gunn over there running it would be a no-brainer. Obviously, James over there would be a no-brainer. We love him to death. We love the direction he's going to take the world in. You know, he's going to be inventive with it. They were also asked what's their favorite DC characters, I guess. And they basically, I'm not going to read the whole quote, but basically they kind of said they were big Spider-Man and X-Men comics, but for DC it would have been Batman. But they also feel like there's so many iterations of Batman, so they kind of feel like that was just kind of like an obvious answer. But then they later came back in a different interview and kind of shut down the idea. They doubled down on saying they would love to work with James. It's whenever he would like them to come in, but they would not do a Batman movie.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
which that stinks because I mean they're right. Batman's just he's the golden boy of DC and it's been done so many times. But when I look at the Russo brothers and the way they wrote the two Captain America films that they did, and then with Avengers, I'm like, man, just hearing that, it's like they could probably write a great Batman.
Oh, they
For
probably
sure.
could.
Or
For
like
sure.
they could probably just do a trilogy that might actually be good enough to rival Nolan's with how good they can do stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder if
I
maybe
don't
the
know.
idea of a Damian Wayne being there is just kind of a turn off too. It's like it almost seemed like they weren't interested in doing a Batman movie at all, just because of how many iterations they are. It almost seems like they want to do something they can kind of, make their own.
It's just a
path with
saturated.
and-
It's a saturated character. I
Mhm.
mean, especially by this point, God knows they are. I mean, they just keep pumping them out. I mean, for somebody else to go in and be like, "Let me do it again."
well,
Yeah,
Batman,
Especially
Yeah.
while you got Matt Reeves on the other side too, and
Yeah.
Elseworld. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still excited because it seems like they're still open to doing something.
Yeah.
Is that maybe a Justice
Yeah.
League movie?
which
Dude, that'd be jackpot.
Maybe,
That'd be a
maybe.
jackpot for
I'd
them.
say if 'cause
both parties.
I can't imagine that
you think
James Gunn
do you
almost
think-
acted like he didn't
do
want
you
to
thi-
direct very much since he's in this new role, because I imagine
I
he's
was
busy
gonna
as
say,
fuck,
do you
but-
think Gunn will eventually just all right? So if this shit is good, like Superman is good, whatever other movies they use to establish this DCU, if it's good, and it's like, okay, now we need a team up movie, do you think he'd probably go to them and be like, okay, you guys did it.
I think they could.
Do
I
it
think they would
again.
be on the
Can
list.
you do it again?
I think they-
like,
That
you
would
know what
be
I mean?
dope.
Like, would they do that? Like, hey, can you do it one more time?
I think they would be on the list. I also think another
I'm
one
kind of
that
shocked
could
that
be
they
interesting.
even like. That's awesome that they said how like they would love to work with James again. Obviously, I just am kind of surprised just because I figured that literally with after all those stuff over at Marvel that they would be kind of turned off from the genre for a while. Which I mean, it's obviously going to be a while before you even get a Justice League movie. So
Right. I also like if it was an earlier project. I think one that would be pretty interesting to see them on would be The Authority. I think that would.
Yeah.
I think that would be another one that It's a team up movie. They've done it before pretty well. And I wonder if they almost, especially if they're going to go more like a boys route, let's say, a more mature route with them. I wonder if the Russos would be interested in that, being able to kind of take the gloves off, because they kind of like were pulling the gloves off with their Marvel movies. Like they were kind of allowed to be a little bit more darker than the rest of them a little bit. So I wonder if they would be intrigued by the potential of doing a movie where they actually could just take them off and see what basically an unrated Russos would be, or an R-rated, not unrated, but an R-rated Russos, or just like a heavy PG-13 Russos. I think that would be pretty cool to also see. But I definitely think the Russos would be on the list for Justice League 2 down the road. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. It seems like an obvious choice, a no-brainer.
Yes, a no-brainer. But also segmenting from the Russo brothers, the old godfather of the DC, the DCEU, Zack Snyder, the GOAT.
Snidey.
He was on a podcast with the Russo brothers.
Okay.
And I'm not going to talk about the whole thing because they broke it up in actually 2 parts, which I also thought was hilarious. When the first one ended, it was like, part 2 releases in a few days. I was like, of course he has 2 parts because it's Zack Snyder. But
split it up into acts.
It was. So, before I get into that, he also unveiled the official T-shirt that for SnyderCon, which the art was done by Jim Lee, an all-time
greedy asshole,
all-time GOAT comic book artist.
Gotta sell the memorabilia.
It's for charity.
Oh, okay. That gets okay.
It's for suicide prevention.
Oh, thank God.
Dick.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah,
what a greedy asshole. Yeah, what a greedy asshole.
Never mind. He's not a greasy ass. He's very thoughtful.
Yes.
Did not know this.
We're sorry.
I am sorry.
We're sorry
now.
But he has shared the official art for the T-shirt that Jim Lee, who is a bona fide certified GOAT comic book artist, which I will show you now, obviously, right here.
Thank God we're not famous yet.
I know. You're not helping us, Kevin.
No, I'm not. Definitely not.
Let's see. So, but I would just, I'm just going to pull a few things out of here, but overall, I would highly suggest watching it. It's just really cool watching these awesome film directors break down their processes and kind of get to see their actual like personalities. And I personally just always love seeing Zack in an interview. I can see him being very polarizing to watch an interview because he gets so excited and he kind of gets a little sporadic in the way he speaks. Like if you had to translate what he says, like to actually and then read verbatim what he said, it wouldn't make sense.
You're just sitting there,
but
so you'd be sitting there. You're like the stenographer or something. Just like I fucking hate this. Like,
paid enough for this shit.
But I always like it because
get a bonus check every time we have this asshole on.
I always like watching him in interviews though because you can just tell he's very passionate and gets very, very excited about what he does, and I just think it's really cool to see that out of an artist. So I just think it's a really cool podcast in general. So highly recommend that. I think it's like they basically eat pizza and talk about film.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure if you just look up the Russos
like
podcast, it'll pop up.
They
They literally just eat pizza and talk about film.
And talk about film. Damn, I love those two things.
right up my alley. Let's go.
Shit, I should have been doing that for this.
But the movie they specifically wanted to kind of peel the onion back with Zack Snyder was Justice League.
Of course.
So obviously a few things came up in that. One of them, Snyder talked about how originally there was going to be a Lois Lane and Bruce Wayne love thing after Superman died.
That happens in the animated show.
And then they're also, I think he alluded to
Superman.
the forbidden thing that everybody completely hated was actually because they alluded to Lois being pregnant at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League. In the original, it was going to be Bruce's kid, apparently.
Nice.
But they were going to change that in the end because the studio was like, you cannot do that.
Like, listen, that is original. I don't think that's ever been done before, even in the comics. I could be wrong. but don't do that.
Will not stick
But
the
the
landing. Do not recommend.
Russos were all about that idea. At least the love angle between Bruce and Lois. They were like, and they even said they're like, I want to see that movie. And this is the main thing that Zack said in this whole thing that most people are hanging on to, is he in the midst of the conversation, like one day looked up and said one day. So everyone's like, oh my, one day, like, oh my god, they're selling.
Hashtag restore the Snyderverse.
So everyone's freaking out.
Or he's just trolling you.
I didn't even take it as that. I took it as like a maybe one day you'll see a story like that. I don't think he actually was saying like, well, one day you'll see it. Like, I think because it was in the middle of him like starting to say something else when they said it.
Yeah,
So then
one
he was like, yeah, one day, and then he kept going on. So
That's just to get you all hot and bothered.
Exactly.
the thing, well, actually, I'll get to that next. He also talked about how the studio thought that the cut of BVS wasn't funny enough, and the Russos actually kind of thought that was archaic thinking, because now we're kind of seeing it nowadays that, like, honestly, the old, like, especially the Snyder movies and the older DC movies, they've been aging a lot better to people that have been going back and watching them, because it's different from Marvel. It's not all bright and jokes, and it's just different.
That's why I like it.
And that's, I think, another reason why Phase 4 has also been teetering. You guys finally caught on to what I've been saying about Marvel since Phase fucking 2, man. Like, I'm not getting into that. But so what's actually ironic, though, is, and Zack pointed out how he always loves having director's cuts of his movie. He said this. I don't know if this is actually true, because if this is true, that this is quite a wild stat. He said the director's cut of his movie, so this is purely just physical and digital sales, led to 80% of the total revenue for BVS. That's insane. If that is actually true.
Yeah.
And
well, I remember when it came out, people blew up right away. They were like, "Oh my god, yeah! Like, why did you even cut this down?"
Yeah, and
because
it
was like a night and day difference of how much better the movie was with that extra 30 minutes.
And what's also funny is, I don't know about you guys, but we'll talk about Justice League. To me, actually, the Snyder cut is genuinely got more funnier comedic moments in it than that abomination of an ass movie of Justice League, the Justice League, because that made me cringe. They didn't make me laugh or chuckle. I just cringed most of the movie.
They were tactical.
This movie, I actually.
Okay.
There's only one part in this movie I cringed, and it's when that lady just kept singing for far, far too long. That was why I was like, okay, you could have cut that a little earlier.
Well, that's
other than that.
That's
Any
your boy.
Comedic moment
that's
in there.
Your boy
was
putting in that weird shit he's got to have in there.
Whoa.
Easy with the witch.
Okay.
Literally
Literally every time Wonder Woman's on the screen in that movie.
I will.
Just every single time.
I will say that is my other complaint, and I think my only two complaints about that movie is when Aquaman goes to sea and that lady sniffs the sweater and sings way too long. I'm like, that was a little weird and creepy. Like, I kind of get it that they're obsessed with him. He's like a god to them. Okay, I get it. And then, yes, when every time Wonder Woman come out, I'm like, okay, if you did it like for a few scenes, yes, cool. But otherwise, just get into the guitar riff that everybody like loves, like,
right.
But
it's so funny.
Anyway,
I do love it. I do love in that movie when he does he explores the Wonder Woman and Bruce relationship, and like she touches his hand and he's like, nope, it's fine. It's like perfectly normal thing that happens between two people. Like, I chuckle every time. It's really not that funny, but I just love it because I'm used to the animated universe where Wonder Woman tries to get in Batman's pants like all the time in the cartoon shows or in the Justice League cartoon. So, yeah.
And then the last thing that I'm going to take from this interview, which I personally thought was the most interesting bit, he confirmed that there is an IMAX version, an IMAX cut.
Oh, stop.
Of the Snyderverse, or the Snyder cut. And
Here
he
we go
confirmed
again.
he confirmed that there is a 15-minute
of course
intermission in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Oh, intermission. Okay.
In the middle.
I like that.
I was expecting something different to be said there, but all right.
Bonus content. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
raw footage.
Yeah,
It's the
unreleased.
Green Lantern in it, not Martian Manhunter. Just
I'm gonna give you 8 different endings. And...
So I personally thought this was really interesting because I was like, oh, holy shit. He basically just came out and said there's an IMAX cut. What does this mean? A day or two later, I kind of remembered and realized that, oh, well, at Snyder Con, they're showing the Snyder cut in IMAX. So that's probably why.
Is that what it is? Okay.
So,
yeah.
Test screening, okay.
And the intermission being there, yes, because that movie's 4.5 hours.
So,
or whatever. Long.
I would imagine what that's for. Like I said, a few videos ago, when I said, like, one of the few things that I think we maybe have a shot at getting is maybe a limited theatrical release of the Snyder Cut announcement. Maybe.
Yeah.
I still put my money on the Green Lantern scene. I still think that's showing up.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'll go absolutely ballistic if he's like,
we're selling this.
But I still don't think that's going to happen, although he still keeps just dropping nuggets that I'm just kind of like...
Dark Superman!
One day.
And then...
one day.
The last bit of DC news that I have, and it's just a real quick one, more just like what to look forward to next week on episode 34 of T3P. The new Flash trailer drops on April 25th. So next week we will definitely be talking about and reacting to that. So
is that Tuesday?
Yes.
Tuesday?
Yes. So
Man,
because actually
it doesn't show too much more.
And you're probably actually potentially going to see a lot of spoilers out there. Maybe not, because they probably have to sign NDAs, but they are on Tuesday as well, which is probably why the new trailer's dropping. They are showing the full version of this movie at CinemaCon to all the movie theater owners and whatnot, so and a few media pundits. But so I would be on the lookout. You shouldn't see any spoilers, because I'm pretty sure they have to sign NDAs, but we know how that goes.
Yeah. It literally never matters.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that, especially if you're on Twitter.
If you really want to combat that type of thing anymore, these places, they just got to start. Just people are at the door. It's like, all right, hand your cell phone over.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way you're going to ever stop this shit.
Well, yeah, and even when they show the test screenings of these Comic-Cons and stuff, like, you're seeing everything that's the private, behind closed doors screening. You're seeing snippets of it everywhere as soon as they show it. It's like, if you really want it to be secret, keep it a damn secret. You stop with all these exclusive screenings if you don't want it out.
And probably also, stop with the whole red carpet premieres that are 2 weeks ahead of worldwide release. Like, for one thing, I'm kind of getting tired of people who aren't even goddamn famous out in Los Angeles that get to go to that shit. I have no right to be there. Yeah, I'll say it and I don't care.
The old content creators.
Yeah, influencers.
Influencers, that's it. Yeah.
Fucking thing. Goddamn, don't even get me started.
You shake your ass and wear skimpy stuff? Come to our premiere.
Right.
What? Like, what are you
I tell my brain that they have to pay to still be a part of that. Like, that's how I cope. That's my copium. No, anyways, aside from hating aside, yeah. Their lives aren't that great. Just keep going. To stop hating, because I don't really want to. But yeah, probably knock that off too, because even those, get in there and just.
Yeah. Dude, the one I watched on YouTube was on a GoPro. Like, somebody had a GoPro on, and they just were clear as day image. I was sitting there watching. I'm like, huh. It was the Acolyte screening. I'm sitting there, I'm watching. I'm like, huh, interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta
what?
I don't know. You just gotta stop the shit. But whatever.
Yeah. If they really.
But at the same time, they can't, because the people who do abide by the NDA and the people that are good and said. People we just complain about, the ones that are good about it, they don't sit there and go and throw spoilers out there for everything, because for one, it'd kill their profession,
right?
I'd say, unless you're one of them people that specifically got in the game to be a leaker and a scooper.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that's not that, and then you start doing that, you're probably potentially going to kill your family.
Right.
Blacklist.
I've even seen a lot of people that started off as scoopers and insiders type of things.
Yeah.
and they've slowly transitioned to not being that anymore. They're more like they got big enough to they're like, all right, I have an audience. I'm just gonna start reviewing and reacting and do news updates and stuff like that. And I was like, you got big enough. You're like, I'm tired of this heat. Let's just do some easy going shit.
The block.
I'm getting really tired of all these cease and desist letters. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop.
Block got a little too hot for him, I think.
Tired of fighting Hollywood. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, that concludes DC news for this week. KP, we're gonna throw it over to Marvel.
All right, old Marvel. There's not much here. Won't make the same joke as the last week. I guess real quick, I don't really know what to kind of... obviously we got two things going on. I'll just touch the one major thing going on.
Oh, I see what you did there.
See what I did there? We'll get there real quick. Hold on.
Spicy.
All right.
Hold on with this.
Let's get nice and hyped up. Good news first, or maybe we should do bad news first. I don't know. I've never been good about this.
Let's do bad news first so we can end Marvel on a high note.
Okay, let's do bad news first. So, bad news.
Major bad news.
Major's bad
Sorry,
news.
I had to piggyback. It
Real
was so
bad.
good, and I had to piggyback off.
Real
I
bad.
didn't know what it felt like.
Big bad.
So, even though his attorney coming out saying that he's completely innocent and that he is most likely the victim, Jonathan Majors has been dropped by his talent manager and PR manager following his arrest.
Good.
Yeah.
This was from... who reported this?
A lot of people, though.
Well, a lot of people, because honestly, it blew up immediately the day that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this is true, that this really happened, which I haven't seen anything saying that it hasn't, that's probably mostly not good.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That your own talent manager dropped you.
Just bounced on you.
Like your PR person...
Okay,
maybe you had someone who just didn't want to deal with it. And they
Right.
were just like, look, I'm going to drop you. It's nothing against you. I just don't want to do this nightmare.
Yeah.
I personally think it would have looked better if they would have dropped him immediately, almost reactively, as opposed to waiting like 3 weeks to
3 weeks,
like
yeah.
3 weeks.
Because
4
that mismatch
It's
would
kinda
be that
like-
much
and
worse.
then, because it's almost like they got their intel and they're like,
Okay.
no, see you later.
Yeah,
Dust the
that's
mind
what
a
I'm
bit.
thinking is like
This is
since
not
this
good.
since this
No.
is weeks later, it's like okay, so they sat on him and waited to get the intel, and then now they're like, oh, see ya.
Yeah.
And I think Marvel is one of the few.
And he's been dropped outside. He's been dropped from 2 movie roles from
Yep.
outside the MCU. So Marvel's still hanging on
I'm going to tell you right now, I
They
don't think
will-
Marvel's going to do anything
until
after Loki season 2 comes out.
right.
They're going to pull a WB. They're going to wait, and then like after when the Flash comes out and it makes some money, they're going to be like, Ezra Miller will no longer be returning to play the Flash. There's just no way. And
Right.
I feel like they're going to do the exact same thing with this because honestly, it's the smarter business move in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like
And so,
it may not sound like it, but it actually is, which is kind of screwed up. But
And the news of him getting dropped from the films and that he was dropped by his managers, that was on the 17th and the 18th of this week. It was then on the next day or 2 days ago, so then on Wednesday is when the report came out that apparently multiple people or women have come out and have claimed that he is abusive. And this is according to info, this is coming from Variety, is what I should say. That's basically who reported it. So, yeah, you're probably right there that we might not have him as Kang anymore.
hashtag Ray Fisher as Kang.
Sure.
I'm
I
pushing.
literally don't know.
Just give my boy some roles.
I mean,
Just get him roles.
I don't know. This just kind of sucks because I thought Jonathan Majors was good, and I mean, he's the one part of the Ant-Man movie that I liked a lot, and this just sucks. Ray Fisher's, I guess, yeah, he could probably be a good replacement. But yeah.
Do you think about the
So
highs?
I just feel like they both
of
kind
his
of have
career
like
right
the
now?
rounder. They both kind of have like the rounder faces, and obviously they're both like. I don't
Well,
think
Ray
Ray
Fi-
Fisher is as jacked as
Well,
probably Majors is, but
Jesus,
I mean he's still in pretty good shape. So.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
also,
Hollywood. They're
considering
Hollywood.
They can get fit quick.
Yeah, they can. That's like a dime a dozen.
Thick.
Yeah,
Thickness.
personal trainers out in Cal. That's a dime a dozen out there. They can find them.
You know,
that's not.
You know, we could all look like them too if that's what we did for a full-time job in preparation for a movie role when it's all paid for.
Right.
Well, they're also on like the best diets you can be
Exactly.
on.
Right, exactly.
Like they have personal meal preps. They have personal chefs in house.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't hate on them for that either because,
Oh,
like
no.
you said, it is their job.
It's an
Like,
investment,
That's
yeah.
literally like.
Yeah.
It's an investment.
I mean,
You know,
look at
that's
professional wrestlers and how much they're at least
Correct.
supposed to work out.
correct. Mhm.
Dude,
Like
yeah.
that's literally their job.
Yeah,
So.
and you spend all day making your body look like that. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
if we all had the freedom and opportunity to do that, then we'd all look
Dude.
fantastic
And look
too.
at you, Jack.
And it's
Right.
And it's
Jacked
Right,
man.
Jack, man.
Right.
And it's obvious, and it's not that. And even though getting to that point must not be that great, because Chris Evans is like, dude, hell no,
Dude,
I
Yeah.
don't want to go back to that. He's
I
like,
bet.
Yeah.
he's like fully checked out because he obviously still gets asked, "Will you ever come back? We love you." And he's just like, "No, I'm sorry. I just don't want to go."
I appreciate the love, but I'm
Right.
not eating 6 eggs every morning.
Right. Oh God. Like, yeah, dude.
Just to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's just the breakfast appetizer.
That's just
That's
like
the pre-breakfast.
that's first breakfast.
Yeah, first breakfast.
We haven't
yeah.
even gotten to second breakfast or 11Cs yet. I mean,
And then you got the protein shake.
Yeah.
yeah,
All the time. While you're
yeah,
and
all the
a
time.
gallon of water and
Right.
every
I'll say
6
this,
hours.
dude. It does not, and it doesn't feel like right. I had one day this week where I just somehow ended up only eating. Oh, it was Wednesday. Only ate protein throughout the day. Didn't eat a single carb until night. I will say that throughout the day, no matter what, and it was just weird to me because it's protein. You wouldn't have thought this, but I was just constantly like, why am I still hungry? I wasn't starving, but I'm still hungry.
It's your body clamoring for that quick energy carb breakdown. That's what your
Yeah.
body. It's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
the protein will keep you full, but it's not like a satisfying mentally
No.
full. It's
No.
yeah. So when you don't have carbs, it's like your body's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Right.
It's like dude.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I can't imagine like when you're trying to do that shape like that. Like, not to differentiate, I'm sure it's still tough even for women, but for like, for men, it's like we got to look massive and jacked, and it's like you have to consume so much just to do that. It's like,
Brother, I was there. It was awful. I mean, the amount that I had to train when I was in college football was unbelievable. I mean, you're
Unbelievable.
running at 4 or 5 in the morning. You're having a lift before lunch. You have practice in the afternoon, and most of the time you have speed work at night. And so you're constantly and you got
eating
film.
pasta.
I would
Probably not pasta.
I would eat pasta if I had an early lunch. I would eat pasta because I like to have my carbs early in the day so that I could burn them
Right.
throughout the day and have energy.
And they say that that's actually how you're supposed to do it.
Yep, exactly. And then I would have my workouts, and I wouldn't eat for 2 to 3 hours after. But I would take my protein shake immediately, so it would absorb that. And my
Yep.
insulin would level. So there was, every day it was calculated, like what I
Wow.
was going to eat, when I was going to train, how I was going to train. Throughout the week, it would change and fluctuate.
Like you said, calculated. That's why a lot of these like people that get out of the whole being a bodybuilder and all that and whatever, that's like that's the number one thing they say about how like it's actually not that healthy. Like, yeah, it's healthy for my body, but they're like my mental, they're like it's terrible because
It's
like
tough.
you literally have to sit there and nitpick your food and calculate, and it's just like, yeah, I just want to look good enough. I don't need to be shredded.
That's
because
why I cut a lot of the carbs out.
Right.
Because that's the easiest way, the most lowball way that you can still eat the foods you like and like still intake still intake a good amount of food, but it's not going to make you a blimp.
Yeah. And none of this is in no way professional or medical advice.
Facts.
So, anyways,
Thank you, KB.
yeah.
Good disclaimer.
Facts.
To get back to it though, about what these actors do for these beloved roles. The good news. The good news.
Let's go.
Let's go to the good news. Avengers 5 is going to go into production this summer.
Hot.
So hot.
Hot.
That is good.
So Kang Dynasty is going into.
You know what, dude? All right.
Can't wait for that to get delayed. And that's it.
Yeah.
And we're
We
back.
can't just.
And we're back.
The train is going. It's left the station. All right. Like we gotta keep going. So yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I might have a hiccup if we gotta change.
Might have quite a major speed bump.
He's gonna be spending he's gonna be spending all that
You
time
didn't
on.
think we had one more, but we did.
He's gonna be on national television. He's gonna be on camera enough as it is when he's on trial.
Oh God, yes.
Because the whole country is gonna go
Okay.
bananas.
And this man is surfacing again, and this time it seems more. Maybe it's a more set in stone that this is actually what it is, but apparently Adam Driver is going to be Mr. Fantastic, and they're in talks to finalize it. Personally, would have rather have had him as Victor Von Doom,
Yeah.
but he was a bad guy in Star Wars, so let's just see how he plays a good guy.
Yeah.
Let's just see how he plays a good guy.
Let's see if people can get past that.
Not
The bad
Yeah.
guy. Good
not
guy.
who I probably would have picked, but
I mean, would I
think-
really have
I
liked
think
him to
I think
just
he can
keep
pull it off. I think he'll do. I think
he'll do fine. He's a very versatile actor. I totally think he'll be
Yep.
fine. I won't lie. I mean, I would have rather just seen Krasinski just keep the role.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Because I thought I think he just fits it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still a little optimistic because, again, he's a very good actor. I've seen him in other things outside of Star Wars, so that's why I'm like, okay, I'm fine with it because I have seen like his range.
No, he is-
Don't die.
Like it doesn't. He's pretty good.
No, he
so
is good.
Yeah. he's
I
good
actually,
actor.
even though I think the movie got kind of dunked on a little, that 65,
65.
I wouldn't mind to watch it.
I'm still.
I wouldn't
trying to
mind
watch
watching it either. Actually, like I didn't. It wasn't one I was going to go out and see, but it looked like whenever it comes up in streaming, it's like I'm definitely gonna pop that on because it looks like at least a good popcorn.
That's what I heard it is. And one of my buddies watched it, and he's like it was okay. He's like it was a good popcorn movie. Just
Plus,
something you could sit back
we're
and
in the
hang on.
age of well, he's not middle aged, but an older man-ish protecting a youngling.
There you go.
There
We're,
you
we're in
go.
the age
Here we go.
the age of comic book
Surprised
movies.
Pedro
is
Pascal wasn't in it.
Can't
Pedro
get
Pascal.
Who can get? Can we get Adam Driver?
Let's just cast Pedro in another escorting a youngling through a dangerous area. let's just bring that back.
Yeah. That's really all I had. So.
Yeah?
Star Wars news.
Okay.
Oh wait, actually, real quick, what was
Oh.
the thing
Nope.
for DC that you wanted to bring up that you?
Oh my God, people!
Oh,
We did
yeah.
forget.
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
All right. God, this was like the show is. Just,
Oh, you're gonna talk about Titans?
Oh, we're talking.
I
about
almost
Titans.
brought that up, but are you gonna? Because I didn't
Dude.
want to spoil.
Bro. Not only.
I didn't want to spoil for
Not
the 15
only-
people that watch that show.
Not
still.
only.
I shouldn't be saying that. I'm a
We're-
DC
hey,
guy.
we're-
I shouldn't be
if
saying that. It
you're-
fell off a cliff.
If you haven't, it did. This show has just been utter dog shit this season. Which, you know what? Finally coming to a close. Then forced whatever. Fine. It's not a good property anymore. It's just bad. Okay, I'll just get into it. So the episode is basically readdressing to the fact that Garfield Logan just disappeared when they were doing something from the first half of this final season, which involved him having to like break down himself, so like use his powers to morph so much that he had to like morph into like blood. It was weird. So then that alludes to this.
What is
Then he.
happening?
I
It's
dropped off the show
Yeah.
a while ago.
Okay.
This
well,
will-
So I
Alludes to
actually
him
I
now.
saw the scene he's about to get to or probably going to talk about, but I have no idea what's going on this
So
season. I watched the very first episode of this last season. I was like, my God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm still in 1, so yeah, I'm 5.
The 3 seasons before this one were like
They're not
great,
but they're good.
They're
like
good.
if you're a DC fan, you're gonna get some enjoyment.
They're
out of
good.
them.
I've been enjoying them. It's not been something that I can't wait to watch. But it's like when I scrolling through, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
put it
They're
on.
good.
Yeah.
They're good. Oh God, this though. So this whole power thing that he does. Well, he finds himself wound up on, I think it's Mount Kilimanjaro, with this other guy that essentially is like can also talk to animals and all this stuff, and he calls it the Red. And the Red is basically boils down to a pocket universe that he can go into and then jump back out into multiple different universes. And the whole episode, he goes through the multiverse of the DC universe. But it's bad because when he's standing in it, so he stands in it and you see like the flash streaks go by him. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
The bad part is then it goes off of his character and it just goes to a shot and then it's like a fucking television screen. It just
It's like a little portal.
like a
opens
little
up.
portal. Instead of like CGIing Grant Gunderson in, because that's who they show first, is Grant Gunderson's Flash.
Grant Gustin.
Gustin? Whatever. I haven't watched it in 5 years. Sorry, dude. Fucked your name up. Grant Gustin is like running as the Flash, and it's just weird because the way they do it is like the lightning streaks are clearly around his body, but then when they wanted to show the actual footage of like that universe, they just show it in like this cheap looking portal, and it's like, yeah, you guys really did lose all the budget money. Like, this is bad. So then
They went very ambitious for how limited of a budget they
Yeah,
had.
they did. And then, like, you see another shot from the first Shazam movie, and then you see...
Potentially his last appearance as Shazam will be in Titans.
Will be in
Ooh.
Titans. He pops
God,
out.
that hurt.
He pops out into another.
Legacy.
Yeah, he pops out. So then he pops out of the Red, this pocket dimension, into a universe, and has a conversation with Stargirl. And it's the Stargirl that's from the Stargirl show, which I haven't watched, but some people apparently really, really like it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll check that out.
It
but
started off decent. I can't remember. I fell
Yeah.
off of it for whatever reason.
So he
I think it's
pops
because the
out
CW universe
yeah.
is just dying in general.
But
I'm
he
like,
pops
oh, this-
out and he's just there, and just like on Twitter. I mean, I just sat there. I was like, so you gave Beast Boy a way to travel the multiverse? Like, that's not.
Didn't make sense to me either, but
It's like the commercial goes, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Like, the only fucking person that can do the only. Well, hold on.
okay, there's
Now we gotta
probably
count 'em.
actually a few, but not Beast.
All
Boy.
right, how many?
Unless somebody is sending him there.
Right,
like-
it's like, how many goddamn speedsters do we got? Okay, we got. All right, Flash, Thrawn, Kid Flash, Impulse, Anti-Monitor, Monitor. They can travel the multiverse. No one else. All right, no one else can travel the multiverse. God, it was just bad. I had to bring it up.
there was only one moment in that I kind of popped.
Because
for.
I knew that, like, if I saw it on Twitter, I was like, he saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, I definitely saw it.
Yeah.
There was one moment in that whole garbage segment that I was like, that's actually kind of cool. Opens up one portal and somebody's bald, and he's like holding and he's like drawing something, and he's like, I can see you. Some people think that's like Lex Luthor from like an old. I'm like, you losers. That's
Yeah.
Grant Morrison, the creator of Multiversity. And he's drawing the map to the multiverse on
Yeah.
his pad there, and I was like, that is such a cool Easter egg and such a garbage segment.
Yes.
I'm sorry that
Yes.
you were wasted. You beautiful mind, Grant Morrison. You were wasted.
Yeah.
Terrible. Terrible. Very cool Easter egg, though. I will give them that. But okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know if that's what you were going to allude to. I didn't know if I
was.
was going to bring that up or not because I was like, I don't know if we should deep dive into a big spoiler about a show we never talk about. But let's be real.
Yeah.
I will say
Not very many people are watching it. So that's why
okay,
it's
and
canceled.
I will say this.
And no wonder why.
But I will say, Young Justice season 4 does finish strong.
Oh,
I like Young Justice the way it finishes. It does finish season 4 strong.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Not.
And
Titans.
I really hate that they're not going to give it a 5th season to more properly close it, because the cliffhanger they left season 4 on was the 4. Well, they're the Furies, but it's like when DC does the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, like it's a little different. But so it's like the 4 Furies, and like.
so
They already had Granny Goodness, and then the other strong.
the gods.
Yeah.
They had Granny Goodness, and then the other strong one that I can't remember her name.
Oh,
Not Assad. No, it's a woman. God, I can't remember her name. And I think later even she even turns like and helps the League at some point.
maybe if I saw a picture.
But the other 2 Furies in the cliffhanger shot. One is it's Black Mary, so Mary from Shazam. So like in Young Justice, like she's just a giant prick when she's in her god form, like just total asshole. So like when you get introduced to her, like she literally won't say the word, she won't transform, and then she has like this head battle, and like her persona as like the goddess, whatever, is like trying to tell her like just say the word, I'll take care of this. And she's like no, and like the whole idea is like she can't turn into Shazam because like she just loses control. So they introduce her as Black Mary at the cliffhanger as a way to means to like she just went the Black Adam route. She just accepted that she's just evil and a shithead. And then the 4th one they've done many other times, and I was like, damn it, I hate you now, because it's not going to continue. Kara Zor-El. I was like, son of a fucking bitch. I was like, I'll never get to see the Supergirl that they were going to make for this show. So
That's rough.
Yeah, that's tough.
That is annoying. Yeah.
Well,
Star
I guess
Wars?
it's finally time for Star Wars.
Well, obviously, I want to concentrate for the most part on the big news at hand, is the finale of Mando this week, of course. But the only real news that obviously, because I want to keep the concentration on that, because there's quite a bit to unpack. It really is. I mean, but obviously we've got Battlefront 3. Developers came forward, said 99% done with the game, and yanked.
I just don't understand why they would yank it if you were that far like done with the game.
Dude, the developers said that gamers were robbed because it was supposed to be such a good game that they were coming out with. And obviously Battlefront struggled for a little bit. It aged better than it did when it came out initially.
The first so that's the thing that's annoying is like they named them the same thing. So there's like the Battlefront and Battlefront 2 from the 2000s.
The goats.
And then there's the newer ones.
Yeah.
And the first Battlefront was meh.
Second one was pretty good.
The second one was good.
Yeah.
I just never had anybody to play it with, so I didn't get into it. But the second one was like a bigger hit. A lot of people really liked playing that one. And I think a lot of people still play it.
And the story mode was fantastic.
And that's why the second one was a lot better, because there was a story mode that people could play, and that's like why they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was special ops for the Empire, and you basically pick up when the Death Star blows up, and you're on Endor.
Yeah.
And it's sweet. It brings you to Operation Cinder and everything.
Yeah, you're a special ops agent for the Empire, and like
it's pretty sweet.
It's literally like he said. It picks up like the beginning of the game is like you're these spec ops. They're going in to clean up with the stormtroopers, the rebels, like Han and all them on Endor. Like they're going in to clean that up because the stormtroopers can't. And then like they look up in the sky, and then the Death Star explodes. So they're just like, did the Emperor get off? And they're just like, no. And they're just like all freaking out, and like that's what the story like goes through is like it's like the Empire's like scrambling now, like okay, who's like in charge of us?
And it's like Endor's on fire, and they're just working their way through the forest, and it's sweet.
I got decently far into it, but then you get to this one where you literally like you got to fly a TIE fighter through shit, and I'm sorry, the controls are terrible.
Did you ever play the? Like
I thought the controls for it were so bad that
did
I
you
was
play
like,
the Squadron thing? The whatever.
Rogues
was that the game that came out?
Was the game also called Rogue Squadron?
I can't remember, but I played the shit out of it. It was once you get used to those controls, they're actually pretty cool. But it takes so long to get used to that, and you only are in it for a blip on the game. You do it like one mission or a couple missions, touch and go. So there's not really any opportunity for you to really get good at them.
Yeah.
But dude, in that game, I actually, you get fatigued playing that game sometimes. Like on high, like like obviously not just regular story difficulty. Dude, that's a challenging game.
And people are really pissed about the Battlefront 3 one being axed because they were gonna put like Revan in and stuff like into the game because like the way that. So have you ever played them, Jay?
Yeah.
Like the newer ones.
I think I played the first new one.
Because when in Battlefront 2, like when you're in like the big team arena, I think it's when after you rack up so much of a kill streak, you get to like then choose a hero for the side you're on, and then you get to run out and
for one life or whatever.
Yeah, and do whatever. So like people were pumped for 3 because like they were introducing Revan and a bunch of people from like the other MMO games, and you could like be these characters.
I would have bought that just to be able to play Revan.
Right.
So dope.
So yeah, I can't believe it was 99% done, and then they just chopped that.
Yeah, I saw that, and
stupid.
I was like,
Just
oh,
dumb.
damn,
That's
rough.
such a waste of money.
Especially being, I mean, you're
Especially-
done. Like what?
Especially in that industry too. It's like I can't believe you didn't try to recoup any of that loss.
Right. I mean, obviously people liked 2, and that actually did a big resurgence for the first one because people like were starting to hop back online and were starting to love it again. And then they're like, oh, no, fuck those servers. Like, what the you doing, man?
It's
Like,
EA, man.
Well, it's EA.
yeah, I know. And it's nice though
Problem.
that somebody came forward and said this was bullshit. Like I like that because they're like, because that's the thing is I did hear about Battlefront 3 and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
I can't wait for another 10 years.
And again, unfortunately. Well, but does the EA still own, or is that now finally all fully under Disney with that Lucas Arts thing?
It might be by now.
Well, because LucasArts, they have Lucas Games now, I think, too.
So maybe the EA doesn't own it anymore to distribute or publish whatever it is.
Good route.
License. I don't know. I don't exactly know how the entire process.
Who makes
works.
Jedi Survivor?
Oh man.
Oh.
God, I can't remember.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is Fallen Order was EA because I know
So
like
that's
that's
probably-
why
yeah,
that's
they
like
probably
because
made
I've played that game. That's why I have an Origin account.
Which makes less sense now. Like, double down. People are gonna force feed themselves with whatever Star Wars game you put out anyway.
Mhm.
So why would you axe that one? The most easily it's almost like the fallback, or it should be the
That one
big
can-
team battle
Yep.
MMO. No, not MMO really, but just basically
But there
open
is
arena.
there's bigger
Royale.
rules. You can even specifically do heroes and villains against each other, where you play the specialized characters and
Mhm.
just. I've seen tons of clips of people that are like playing as Rey and they're fucking up Darth Maul and shit because like it crosses generations like in the game modes and
It is EA, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so EA still does it. That's yeah.
They still must have came to a licensing agreement or some sort
Yeah.
of agreement. Because I'm sure Lucas Games is still a part of it too. But
Yeah, I think they're just kind of their input gets inserted into whatever they're doing, just like that does for everything else, whether it's on there or not.
Mhm.
But really, I mean, news wise, I don't really have much anything outside of obviously we're waiting for May 4th, where we're gonna get Tales of the Jedi, or is it Visions? I think we're gonna get Visions. They confirmed that Tales of the Jedi is getting another volume.
Yeah, another season. Yeah.
Yeah, another season. And then, obviously, we're getting the Young Jedi Adventures on May 4th. Took that day off so I can watch it all in one go.
The The kids cartoon.
All of it.
All
of
of
it.
it.
All
All
of
of it.
I'll go back and watch Ahmad Best game show. I don't care. I'm watching all of it.
There you go. There you go.
Jar Jar forever.
Jar Jar.
Right.
Darth Binks.
No.
But we'll get right into it. Obviously, the big. I don't even know the word I'm looking for.
Finale?
I'm not that too, but just obviously the most anticipated part of this season was kind of seeing where we come to a head. Last episode felt like a finale to me. I was a little worried about that because I thought this might be a little bit of a downturn from that. Wrong.
Oh, so you were so wrong.
Wrong.
So wrong.
Wrong.
Oh, man, were you wrong?
Do we want to do no spoilers review first, or just
Yeah,
get
but so
straight
we
to
can
it?
kind of do non-spoilers for a little bit. Overall, I thought it was a great episode. I think I said awesome or amazing. I've kind of gone a little bit down on that since our chat. Just because
Okay.
I have small little gripes. Nothing big. I still thought it was a great
I've got
episode.
one small gripe, that's it, but I don't care. It was
Um,
amazing.
Okay. All right.
Some choices were made. And I was like, okay. But overall, I thought it was a great time. There's some really hype moments in this episode. I'm sure, especially for you guys that watch like Clone Wars and Rebels, to see
Oh,
some
yeah.
of this stuff. Some of the stuff in live action. They definitely you get to see some cool stuff on screen that you haven't got to see yet in Star Wars, which is not something you can say very often.
So crazy.
I
They
will
just
say,
went crazy. Balls
and
out.
well, do you want to do just this review and then talk about the season as a whole afterwards, and
Yeah.
where we think we rank compared to the first two seasons?
Yeah,
So I'll get into that later. Then.
definitely.
Okay. So overall, great episode. Finished on a high note. I would say.
How do you think the last few episodes? How do you think this compares? Obviously, the last episode was a banger. How would you say this compares?
I mean, kind of about the same, maybe a little lower, maybe.
Okay.
Hmm.
KP.
What did I give the
all
last
accurate,
one?
man.
Did I give the last one a
Oh.
9? I think I gave the 7 a
Oh, okay.
9-1.
Uh-huh.
I think I gave the last episode a 9-1.
Yes.
Pretty sure I'm maybe at like an 8-7, 8-8 on this one.
That's still for him. That's heat. For him, that's heat.
Yeah. I'm way higher than that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, obviously, overall, this thing, I think, honestly, I will say this. My one small gripe is that the machine gun effect at the end, that kind of threw me off a little bit because we had to do this quick recap at the end of that's what this person's doing, this is what this person's doing, that's what that person's doing, and this is what this person's doing. Boom, 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 boom. Right after all this stuff happens.
I think there's a specific reason for that, for what someone says at the end.
Yeah.
A certain line from a character. It
I-
makes sense why that effect is at the end.
I'll also
Yeah.
say this, and I'll get into more detail when we get into spoilers, maybe. I also feel like you can kind of tell that there were definitely some writing changes made.
Hmm.
I feel like you can definitely feel it in this finale for sure. It almost seemed like earlier this season they were going to go a certain direction. All of a sudden it was like, skirt, skirt, we're going to go this way now. And certain things felt a little rushed this episode a little bit.
That's what I
Some
mean.
things kind of came out of nowhere. I was like, that's kind of weird. But overall, there's some really hype moments. It's a great time.
Oh.
I mean, you get an air battle. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave on that.
Oh, God, it was so
It's so
hot.
awesome. But
Dude, even for the average Star Wars goer, the casual, the no experience, the Mandalorian show is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it does everything that it needs to check all the boxes for Star Wars. Obviously, we still have haters out there that absolutely want to tear this thing apart. Oh, Disney's ruining Star Wars. Everything Disney touches doesn't die. Okay?
It actually all makes money.
all of it.
Somehow. Still.
somehow,
and
even though we
regardless-
hate it.
And you know what?
Right.
And it's just crazy. You see all the the reviews and stuff. on
Making
the-
Toy Story
Come on.
5. God damn it. Gonna go see it.
Yeah.
but God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you hate it that much, don't support it.
Right.
So you do like it. You're just lying to yourself. Like this I mean, it's excellent. And the delivery, where we end up, especially when we already know that there's a fourth season that's already been written. It's already been
That's what's kind of weird to.
Right. So that's why I'm like, it delivers, and we're in such a place now that's comfortable
That's why I'm like,
as a viewer.
I'm very curious as like, what is the fourth season gonna do?
Right.
Like,
So, and that's the thing, is where we go from here. What's our time jump?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering, is if there's going to be a big time jump after this season.
I think that they have to, kind of, at this point.
uh,
They have to. I mean,
Yeah.
what are they going to do now with him? With the
Well,
way
I
they
really
roll?
can't say any more on
I'll
shit.
say, yeah, do we
until
just wanna give
until
scores before we get
just
into
get into
spoilers?
there?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, I think I'll stick at an 8-7. What you at, Bull?
9-7.
Oh,
Gave it a perfect
Billy
10.
Bob,
God.
10.
Gave it a 10.
10.
He's 10 fingers up on this one.
Oh my God. Well, it's Bo-Katan. So.
True.
That's right, baby.
He's back.
He's back. All right,
Bo-Katan.
let's get into the spoilery goodness.
Oh, let's get it. So we start out, obviously, panning back to
Well, it's
contin-
immediate.
Yes,
It's immediate.
it's right into
It's
it.
immediately into it. It's immediate pickup from where the last episode ended.
Gunning
I will
down.
say that did surprise me.
Me
I
too.
kind of thought. I thought they were more. It was more going to start with them kind of getting out of the cave system, and then they rendezvoused with all the Mandalorians that were up in like the like that were barely above the atmosphere, like
The capital ship.
wherever it technically was that they were at,
low orbit.
low orbit or not. I mean, whatever. And then we would have more play into this spies plural theory that we thought we had, but spoilers for even later. I mean, we end up just not having one. I guess.
Yeah, that we
I don't
still
know.
don't know of.
Yeah, I mean,
at
you
least.
don't know.
So
like-
I heard that there's supposedly rumors, and this is obviously what they are, rumors that that they answered it, but they answered it in a subtle way, and it's not going to be revealed until later on, like
In
the
the next
actual
season.
truth. Correct.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are talking about Axe when he's left, or when he, I'm sorry, no, that Mandalorian, is that Axe that is left behind in the capital ship?
yes, that's
Yeah,
actual.
X-Wolf.
Yes.
that's
So
Wolf.
so Axe stays behind, and you can see like
And I legitimately
his frustration.
and I legitimately figured that was like him, like
saying "forget you."
saying,
Yeah.
well, telling all of them too, like, get out of this ship and get to the drops. I thought, like, okay, here it comes, like the TIE fighters are gonna come out of nowhere and blow them out of the sky,
Right.
and then it didn't happen, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's not the traitor then. And
Right.
I was like, I was just waiting for it and waiting for it,
Yeah.
and
I
it
think-
was interesting that his jetpack can carry him all the way up there, but I was like, okay, that's. But again, like you,
That's a gripe. That's a gripe that I had. I was like, we
Hey,
literally established
hey.
early in the season that the jetpacks didn't last long enough to chase after this stupid bird, but this guy can fly up into low orbit with this thing, just going through a storm. I'm like,
well,
whatever, looks cool and badass. I'll
the
forgive
bird
it, I guess.
thing. The bird thing is a question of how fast. This is just endurance of getting up there.
Well, yeah, because even in the beginning, the first season, you see like Mandalorians just flying up next to a ship, like escorting them
Yeah.
out off planet. So like
Yeah.
they do have the capacity to go far. It's just when they're chasing something and you're actually putting demand on it, it will
Yeah.
burn out quicker.
And like this man
But
has
you would
always
think
said,
you would have to put a
that-
lot of demand
that-
on that to go through low orbit, especially when you're going through that big of a storm.
Well, in the low orbit for those things, the ships
Yeah.
are so large that they kind of put themselves into an orbit around the planet like a moon almost. So it's like
I
they don't ha-
guess,
they don't
like
have to
I
go
just
up
I
too
thought
high.
that was an interesting choice. I was like,
It
okay,
is, yeah.
it's kind of much.
They did it
But
for the
again,
shot.
like you yourself always said, this is the Star Wars,
True.
and there's times where it's real cheesy.
Space Jesus and all this.
Yeah.
I mean we got
This
plenty of
is the
stuff.
Star Wars, so
Yep.
I'm not terribly too mad about it. Just more was like, oh, that's an interesting way to do it. Whatever.
Yeah, but obviously they're fighting their way through the caves. We see that Moff
the-
Gideon is, he noticed already that.
Another big complaint about this episode that makes no sense. You're talking about the dots on the screen?
Oh yeah,
Like
Knows
how
exactly where they are, where they're going, and he just lets them go into the spoilers, the clone room, and destroy all those clones, and then acts like it's such a big deal. Now I know there's a big theory that's out there, and we can talk about that if you guys.
I don't know that theory.
But I hope to God it's not like.
I don't think that theory. I don't really think is like. I don't think that is like really gonna actually come to some weird fruition.
I would hope
Which
not.
one is this?
So
let's just dive in, yeah. Let's
Let's
just
get
dive
it.
in.
All right.
Now I gotta hear this. So
all right, so with Moff Gideon,
Okay.
like you said, and you are right, that was a little hokey. That he
I'm
sees,
gonna just go stand in this room for dramatic effect.
yeah, he sees where the dots are, and then he even says to like whoever the hell was with him, or like a droid or something. He says something that kind of alludes that he was gonna go to this particular area and wait for those two. So it's like Jordan said, like he kind of knew exactly where they were going, and he just kind of just didn't care. And then basically they stumble upon all his clones, and then
Which sadly, I also was surprisingly let down by. I was like, this is kind of lame. I thought this was going to pay off to Snoke and
Yeah.
Palpatine and
well,
stuff like that.
I think it.
Which is still good.
I think it does.
This is where it starts.
I think this is where it starts.
But he succeeded.
Well, I think the Snoke and
Or at
all
least
that.
he
I
thinks
think
he
the
did.
Snoke and the Palpatine return thing, all that. I think that's what when the episode before when they're in the throne.
Necromancer.
Yeah.
He's like that
Yeah.
Project Necromancer.
Yep.
I think that's what that is.
Yep.
I think Moff was just being deceitful to them, and he's like, I'm not into cloning, and
Yeah.
it just turns out that was a lie.
He's just trying to snatch power. It's a power.
And he's just trying. Yeah, he's just trying to grab power, and then so like he's got this line of clones. Then obviously Mando kills them all, and all that shit.
Well, and that's what I don't quite get. So I'm looking at him working these panels with a closed door.
Another thing.
So did he like intentionally? I don't think so. I just don't think he knew what the hell he was doing. He was just hitting a bunch of buttons, and I think Grogu. I don't know. A lot of people are saying Grogu may have had something to do with it as well.
That would make the most sense if
With
he
breaking the
did.
glass and everything.
That would make the most sense because to me, I also thought it was really stupid that somebody could just go up to that computer and go, like no security at all.
Well,
just
and
like
all the glass broke at the same time.
Well, and it does make sense because of the fact of like what I said, like Grogu's kind of terrified of Moff Gideon, and I mean he even says to him, he's like it's just his clones. He's like they're not even alive.
Yeah.
And then like the one opens his eyes and he like freaks out,
and then all of it.
and then all of it, yeah. So maybe it was Grogu just like, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna shatter this and kill him because I don't like this guy.
Yeah,
All right.
because he's probably not even thinking.
I will say there are
that they're
people
gonna
out
do
there
that.
that were theorizing that Moff was, because in the episode before we didn't actually see who was in those tubes, and people theorized that when Moff said a better Mandalorian, he meant himself and he's cloning himself. So kudos to all you guys out there. I saw it all over the Twitters. You were calling that out, so good job, peeps. But
good
back,
job, peeps.
yeah, but back to it. The new theory is that because Moff Gideon in seasons 1 and 2 had a nice little mustache, and this version of him does not, and none of the ones in the tubes didn't have a mustache either, that this was a clone of Moff Gideon acting as the real Moff Gideon.
It's Star Wars, possible, but I mean,
Which it could make sense. I guess, put it this way, maybe they should do that, and maybe that should actually be the strong theory for Moff Gideon to return in Season 4, because then it might actually make sense that, of course, then that clone would not give a shit that the other versions of himself
It's
just
like
got
either
dead.
Moff
because-
Gideon is an idiot, or this theory is correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which neither one is a good route for me, because Moff Gideon's been beaten, 3 times now? Can we move on to somebody else?
I do love, though,
Yeah.
that, like...
Well, I mean,
The only
you
other
know where we're
thing,
going with
and I
this.
think somebody pointed out, it's like the only way this would be like cool if he survived is if like he shows up in season 4 only to be like basically immediately killed off by like Thrawn or something else.
Well, there's that. That's
And it's
that's
like-
what
that would be cool.
That's
that's
my
kind of
thought.
that's like that would be kind of cool, I guess, if he
That's-
is gonna survive. And
No, you know
that would be
what?
kinda cool.
But honestly,
They'll kill him in Ahsoka, because, we got to watch all of it. It's got to all be connected, just like with Book of Boba Fett.
it's true.
He's just got to magically be gone.
It's true. I mean, yeah.
This is
This is the way.
This
Like-
is the way.
This is the way.
This is our Lord Filoni giving us all of his stuff.
Walk the way of the Filoni.
But no,
This is the way.
This is the way.
I loved how they stapled like exactly why they wanted Grogu when he's just like the one thing I didn't have I could get. He's like the Force, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how Palps comes back.
Big
I was
time.
Like, there it is.
Big time.
That's exactly why they want this child.
And dude, that honestly, and okay, so now we see the quality of clone that came out from him on a side project, and then we get Snoke. Okay, that's the only thing I think with where they're trying to take this. I'm like, okay, so now you're showing me perfectly genetically enhanced, Force enhanced. Well done, well put together. Clones.
We don't know if Force enhanced or not. He said
right. He believes they.
He believed they were.
They have a chance to be.
Yeah, or that they. Yeah, he believed that they had a chance to be.
Yeah. So obviously, but even be that as it may, we're seeing perfectly made clones put together, like they look like him.
Yeah.
Like, just like the clones in the Clone Army.
Yeah.
And then in the future, somehow
maybe that Kaminoan, maybe that Kaminoan from Bad Batch is still alive. Maybe she's still alive.
Maybe.
Maybe they got her trapped up somewhere. Just you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also just like another, like it kind of makes sense, but it's like also like the Pershing storyline this season. It's like what was the point of that? There's really no real payoff.
Well, okay. So
unless he does I almost feel like that leans.
That's on a season. That's on the season as a whole.
So if you look at the story as a whole. Moff Gideon is trying to snatch power from Thrawn at this point, or this magical Thrawn that supposedly exists to him.
Right, yeah.
So he's trying to snatch power. Now, he doesn't, so now he wants to be the true heir to the Empire. Now, what can't happen for him to be the heir to the Empire? The Emperor to come back. Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Pershing is working on Necromancer with them to bring the Emperor back. He waxes his ass so that he cannot come back. He still ends up doing it, but he does it in a roundabout way instead of coming back now. So Pershing's storyline was meant solely as almost like a...
To kind of give you context to why Gideon's doing what he's doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And they explored
it's actually a good way to look at that.
Yeah, and they explored it several different times. So it's like they kept referencing it. So when, what's his nuts, Hux is like, what of Dr. Pershing? It says you hid him, from us for your own project when they're working on Necromancer. Duh.
Right.
I'm not helping you. I want to take control.
And he's like, oh, cloning is your interest, not mine.
Yeah.
And all, he's just lying to their face. Yeah. So it does make sense. Putting that all together, those are good points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like that.
He didn't go for naught. He didn't die for naught. It was purposeful anyway. I mean, especially with where I think that Moff Gideon's going to end up either like you say, getting killed off by Thrawn and like a "you fool, you should have never doubted me, you should have never tested me" type of situation, or he becomes his political enemy, which I think would be brilliant for the show to show how ignorant he is politically and brilliant he is in a militaristic manner. So use him as his political opponent, in the Empire, or kill him.
Yeah. I don't know. Because honestly, I think if he doesn't come back, then this finale maybe just ends up looking a little bad.
Yeah.
Of like your points are valid. Like, why was it that? Because while I was watching it, I kind of thought of that too. I was like, wait, why is he surprised? I was like, wait, why is he mad about this? Like, wasn't he just...
You literally let him do it.
I was going to say, wait, weren't you just tracking them and to see where they were going? And it's like, well, but then again, you just kind of arrogantly left the room because you thought, you were good.
Well, and also you don't know... you don't know the exact path they're taking while you're there waiting for them. So it's like... And also, you don't think that they're going to turn and kill them all.
No, I don't want to hear... No, I don't know which way they're... He has a map that literally follows them, live GPS dots. He knows exactly where they're going.
Well, he doesn't.
That's why I said
he doesn't think they're going to kill his clones.
It makes sense. Is if the theory is actually true that he's just a clone and Moff just wants everyone to think he's dead and his plan has been destroyed.
They got to the clones,
but actually he did succeed in what he's doing, and he's just off somewhere else in the Outer Rim.
Now the clones, but the clones though, it was the red barriers, right?
Oh my god!
What now?
the red barriers.
This was
there.
another letdown.
Well, hang on.
What's going on now?
The clones,
Okay.
the room they're in, that's the same room where there's the red barriers like we saw from Phantom Menace that like divide when someone's approaching.
I think it was before.
I thought it was after.
No, they would be.
Would it before? No, it was before on the way in.
Yeah.
It was on the way into the clone room.
Yes.
All right.
Wait.
No,
So-
Clone room, and then
Yes.
barrier room.
The barrier room was after the clone room. They went through, they destroyed those, and then they went up to the barriers.
Because remember when he walks by the clone like pods, and then he walks through to go to the Shadow Council meeting. He walks by them, and then he goes through that.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was on the platform that's where the Shadow Council meetings are on the other side of that.
Well, I remember that, but
Since
I
it was
was thinking that the clones were before all the barriers.
They are.
Or it was
No, they are.
They
They're
are.
before the barriers.
Yeah.
or I meant the opposite. Sorry, the barriers were before the clones, or they were all like together in the same room. But
I don't know. Maybe
They could have been. I don't know.
Maybe you are right. Maybe it was the barriers and then the clone room and then the.
well,
final
the
room.
thing I'm getting at is that it would make sense if the barriers were before the clones, because then it's like, well, that's why Moff walked off, because he didn't think like they had a way to get past the barriers, but then because he didn't know that R5 was on the outside to come in
True.
and let them through.
True.
So you might be right then. Yeah, that might be how it went. It might have been.
So if it went that way,
It might have been
then I'm gonna.
barriers.
If it went that way, then I'm gonna argue that this is fine, and yeah, it makes sense that he got mad because he didn't expect Din to be able to pull that shit off,
Or
that would be fair, actually.
or Grogu.
Yeah.
I meant to watch
I don't
this
know.
a second time
Maybe
too. And
we'll
I
have to
should
check
I
it
meant
out.
to watch it a second time because honestly, I still just
Well,
absolutely love this
and
episode.
the only thing too is that usually stuff like that I think is kind of hokey. So and nothing like that made me raise an eyebrow when I was watching it. I watched it a second
Yeah.
time, and I didn't really. I paid real close attention.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and nothing really made me raise an eyebrow. So maybe we're just thinking of this differently.
It was just God. The better part of the episode though was the payoff of what we finally get in live action, because we've seen this time and again in the animated show, but now I finally got peoples.
Yeah, people swanging that saber.
When she's like, dude,
Slanging
when she comes up and like they all get down there and she's like, Lady Kreese, the reinforcements have arrived, and like they all like get out and they're flying together, and like she turns and looks at her numbers, and then like the dark suit troopers are like, they all like start running out, and then they start flying up. And I legitimately, I'm single dude living in my house alone, and I just said, I was like, oh yes, finally.
Yeah.
And I was like so pumped for it. And then like, yeah, she just like ignites the saber in like a charge forward motion. I was like, oh my god, he's just like, they did that shit all the time in Clone Wars. This is amazing. And,
Oh, dude, it was so good. And dude, that shot of like the panning from the side when they just hit each other. And then
Dude,
they just
I got
clean each other
Civil
up.
War. I was like, that's their Civil War shot
Swear
right
to
there.
God.
So sick. And I mean, the little quick shot of her like fucking slashing one out of the air, and then like another one's coming on her, and the armor just whoops that one's ass down.
The
and
armor
like,
with the hammer,
and then they with her tongs and her hammer,
just
and she's
cleaning
like
people.
macing people in the face, and they're just flying side by side, and they just like head nod at each other. I was like, fuck yes, dude.
Dude, that's Star Wars.
Yes,
And,
I was like, this is fucking Star Wars.
Yeah,
Like, I wanted to tweet it out so bad, but it was in the middle of the afternoon, so I had to stay home that day for my dishwasher to get repaired. I was like sitting there like, I want to get on Twitter so bad.
Yeah, dude.
It's a horrible thought. I should not think that way. But, I was like legitimately wanting to shout to the world like, this is in Star Wars!
I swear, dude. I was sitting there with Jamie, and I'm like, dude, I looked at her, I'm like, this is what Star Wars actually is.
This
like,
is legitimately what Star Wars is now.
Oh my god, it was so good. And then obviously, Bo, once they got things under control, Bo goes off to help Din.
Getting his ass beat by the
Getting his
Praetorian
ass
Guard.
Well, and dude, the thing is, how cool that scene really was, because the Praetorian Guard are actually trained to fight Force users. And when Grogu shows up, they completely ditch Din and just go right for Grogu. And people were complaining about that. I'm like, because you're an idiot. You don't know that they actually are trained to like, kill only Force users, and they're trained, and that's like,
well, and they were probably even told capture Like that's the prize. The prize is Grogu.
Yeah.
So like, of course they were like, well, fuck this dude. Moth can handle him. Yeah, let's go secure this little shit.
Yep.
And I loved how he's just like throwing them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Dude, I am telling you, that action sequence with the Praetorian Guard and
Favorite part of the episode. Well, as far as like actually getting me like suspenseful, because we all heard the rumors about Pedro Pascal potentially leaving after the season. When those three walked in, I was like,
I did too.
I
did too.
immediately
I was
leaned
like-
forward and I was like, all right,
oh,
this was already
God.
pretty hot, but you officially have my undivided attention.
Dude, I swear. I was like, I remember I was sitting there and I go, oh, God, I hope nobody else shows up. Because I thought he was just going to get waxed. But yeah, he held his own. I mean, obviously, Paz was exhausted by the time they got to him. He had just fought an entire, battalion.
But they've
or
done
some
a
shit.
good job throughout Star Wars, pretty much establishing the Praetorian Guards as like, here's some bad. You don't want to mess
fuck
with
with
these
them,
guys.
yeah.
And some people thought they looked better in Last Jedi, and I was like, no, the way they made them look in this, they look 10 times better than the
That's
way
how
they
they're
looked in
supposed to look. You know, this
The way
is how
they-
they're supposed to look.
To me,
you know?
to me, like, well, so like this version, it's like kind of more scaled armor,
Yeah.
and in Last Jedi, I'm pretty sure it's all just one clean plate.
That's how it was in the beginning.
And
but
I literally just don't like that look.
the sheen kind of slick.
Yeah,
look that they have.
I too, Jordan, I kind of sat there. I was like, oh god, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah,
I swear.
I was like,
I can't watch it.
I was like,
And
I can't.
and then immediately when they started walking towards Grogu, I was like, oh, they're not killing him off.
Yeah. When they immediately they just turned to Grogu and they all just like okay, they went off and changed. I was
Like
like,
their heads
oh,
turned. They just go,
right.
Dude,
And they-
Grogu, when he's like
Yeah.
backing up the animation there, the robot just
yeah.
Right.
So funny. So funny.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's so perfect because the defensive positions,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it's like, oh, shit. Oh, God, please.
I just love it too, and he just starts fucking force
Oh.
throwing.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that's actually probably when Grogu first comes in is probably actually might be my favorite like moment of the episode,
because they're gonna kill
dude,
him. And no,
The angry
No.
Grogu face, just no. I was like, yeah,
Dude,
I'm
that's
all about this.
Dude, that suit with the yes and no is the perfect sprinkle on top, dude. It's like at the time you're like, why? But dude, not anymore. I'm on board. I love that shit. There's been fan art of him on top of that droid body with a lightsaber in hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's been
That's
fan
pretty
art of people drawing him like it's literally sitting like they cut the IG-11 in half and he sits on top of it and controls it with the Force. It's dope looking. Obviously, no.
For whatever reason, I like rewound that part like 2 or 3 times just to see his. They did such a great job with this angry face. Like, I love how they've done Grogu so far. Like, I've given him shit about like you probably shouldn't actually show his like full body when he's like walking or running because you can just tell there's little strings.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we all kind of
Someone said
it's endearing at the
so-
same time.
so-
Reminds us of the old 70s movies, or 80s,
someone
70s, 80s.
someone said like you absolutely know to get those flips down on the CGI they were just taking the puppet and chucking it into
Dude,
the air.
people in green screen, dude.
I was like,
There was 100%
That's
people in just
amazing.
like green screen outfits, just like
yeah.
Oh, dude, him laughing and running was the most hilarious. He's just laughing and running,
Yeah.
and jumping, and just and these Praetorian guards are just the bane of the universe. He's just just laughing and jumping. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's cool because you see Luke's training and how he trained him and everything he does. Because it's like it's only obviously to protect, and it's only obviously to protect, to keep himself safe and keep others safe. And it's almost like it's the most wholesome Force user we've ever seen. It's like it's so funny. I love it. But
he will also use it to steal food.
oh yeah,
At the very end when he jumps in.
it's so funny. He's always just eating something.
Or not at the end when they go to the bar or whatever to see and they see the head of. Oh no, that was towards the end then.
Yeah,
that was towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah. No, when he's in the classroom in season 2 and he's taking the candy from that because he's like, and he doesn't, and he looks up and he looks down. It's gone. All you saw was him put his hand up, and there it is. I'm like, I love that, dude. It's so funny. It's like Anakin when he's cutting the fruit.
Yeah. God.
I did think it was really
So-
cool when they were fighting though that it was kind of like a Well, it's 2v3 technically, but kind of a 1v3. But with a little help of Grogu, just being like, "Get away from Dad, no,
Dude.
Get away from Dad."
Yeah.
When he comes down with the pole arm and he just stops it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Although,
Let's
sorry,
go.
Another random gripe about this whole scene because he does this afterwards. But when he initially gets cut down and falls, he's got this teeny weeny pipe on him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm like, are you kidding me?"
I was dying. I was dying, dude. Because I'm like, really? I'm like, that's what got him?
And then, of course, and then immediately afterwards, he's like pushing full-grown people and stopping like
Yeah.
the attack. And I'm like, yeah, you could have totally
Saving his energy.
That's
Saving the energy.
the only thing I was thinking is Jamie said the same thing. She's like, why is he stuck? You know, like, and I was like, well, the only thing I could think is it does take him force to move like that. So and he goes to sleep after he throws a couple people around. So.
See, but I don't think he's like that anymore. And I think this
Not as
episode kind of
much.
established because he does kind of. Well, he doesn't even fall asleep actually after the.
Well,
big
yeah,
he kind of
'cause-
falls though.
Yeah.
well, he's obviously
This
like,
episode,
tuckered out,
this
but he
ep-
doesn't,
this
like-
this episode kind
die,
of
yeah.
established that he's a little older and that Luke's training paid off a little.
Yeah, it's starting to really show. Like you're starting to really actually finally see. And you know what? I'm gonna be a little upset about something real quick, and I love it, and I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I'm not really upset. I'm just. Why does the armorer have to say anything about his parents? And if they're even alive,
Yeah.
like you know who they are. Why?
How did
Why you gotta say that?
dude, 'cause we need a wholesome family moment. But before we get there,
No, but that's
dude, we're like
that's like the one day from Zack Snyder, like that. That's what that was.
I literally yeah. I love though when Bo and Moff fighting one last time. That was also fucking sick.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I kind of want to get into this a little
Yes.
bit too.
Yeah. Well, let's backtrack.
Because
a
like
little
when
bit.
he's like here to make a deal again or
There's
something.
nothing in here.
Here to
not
surrender
quite
again.
A fan of.
He's like here to surrender again or something. He says, and she's just like she like turns the shield on.
If you surrender, I promise to give you a warrior's death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Hot.
well, he's like, if you surrender, a pure, like a true Mandalorian death as a warrior or something. I was like, well, she just fights you right now. It's the same damn thing. So
Right.
Yeah.
get
At
get
least
ready
it
to
gives
get
her
your
a shot.
yeah, get ready to give your shit rocked. But then like,
Dude, when she rages out, that was dope.
that was dope. His weapon choice, I was like, huh, that's an interesting weapon.
Yeah.
I've
Once
never
again,
I've
seen
seen that before.
The only, the only thing, yeah, dude, yeah, it's interesting, really interesting.
For
because-
nostalgia purposes, I
so
didn't
many
hate it.
like almost hints at a mall,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
but
yeah.
no mall.
No, of course not, because that's the thing. They're gonna take all the things we love, and they're gonna make us
that's
think
what-
that they're related.
I was gonna say that's what it makes me wonder is like, is Moff was he really an actual Mandalorian that maybe did fall in line with when Darth Maul was ruling, and that's like why he
Has
once
the horns.
has the horns, and
The
then of course yeah, and then
double-bladed
the
vibro or whatever.
Yeah, the weapon is a double bladed like electrosphere or whatever, or electrospear, whatever.
And he's obsessed with the planet. I mean, he's made a base there. He's
Yeah.
stayed there this
He
entire
likes,
time.
yeah, he's like, he really wants to utilize the Beskar and still get his hands on it as much as he can. And it just makes me wonder, like, was he an actual Mandalorian? And, like,
Be interesting. If
You know,
if they explore that route.
yeah.
They should.
because he knows the whole tale about the Darksaber in season 2. And, like, you know, he's going to give it to her. And he's like, she can't just take it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, he knows that whole deal and all this crap, and then like, you know, he knows the deal about how like the religious cult, Din Djarin's coven is they actually hate like normal Mandalorians and House Vizsla and Clan Chris, and like
Yeah,
like,
the
you know,
the only
he-
thing that throws me off though about that theory is that Maul hates the Empire. Obviously, he would be willing to use it as a means to an end, kind of like Thrawn does.
mhm.
But I just don't know how I feel about Moff. A Moff. I mean, obviously, a Moff would come from a local part of that sector, as like a regional governor.
I mean,
kind of what they are.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, you look at like in Rebels. I mean, Gar Saxon, you know, joined the Empire and everything too. So it's
True.
like, it's not like he would. He's not the first one to do this.
Yeah.
I
that's
just,
true.
I just really wonder if like that connection to Darth Maul is there just because of what happens with Clone Wars and Rebels.
And
But-
it-
And
very
what was
well
his
could be.
line you said about previous episode about how he was going to put Mandalore in a
Return
better
it.
place to
Yeah.
it in his
Better
image?
Mandalore.
he was going to make a better Mandalorian or a better Mandalore.
Because
and,
I
like,
almost felt like even in that when he said it, they kind of some of the verbiage that he used kind of made it seem like that he may have been
mhm.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, and his the only thing I can think though that would be kind of a cop out to that would be if, obviously he wielded the darksaber at one point. That kind of gives him a little bit of a right, just as it would Bo-Katan, or in the same way Maul.
Mhm.
It really, because Maul's not
Right.
a Mandalorian, but he led Mandalore with the darksaber.
Yeah.
So it's like I think that parallel is there.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if it's more symbolic than anything, but it's very similar. Like they got it similar ways, except for obviously he fought for it in the old ways, whereas
Mhm.
Bo-Katan surrendered it. But the parallels there, obviously,
And
then that
really-
even makes it worse. With the double.
And it's
thing.
very
Yeah.
plausible too, just because of the fact that you figure that Moff is probably in his 50s at this point, so he only would have been in his 20s when Maul was there
Yeah,
during the Clone Wars, like ruling. So
true.
it's possible.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out more about him and his past. I don't know how they'll do it, and I don't know. I think they'll bring him back. I think that was a clone we dealt with. They put him in a super suit. I mean, that's to me. I think they'll bring him back. They'd be crazy not to for one reason or another, but because nothing ends peacefully, and people don't really. No one ever truly dies.
For the sake of the writing to actually make sense, I kind of hope he comes back. But for my God, I don't want to see Moff anymore. He did great, but it's just like he's been beat 3 times. It's time to move on.
True, and I mean, that's the thing too. Is that I thought honestly, a real cool way to end it would have been like a Thrawn cameo where he just.
I was
waxes-
I was
expecting-
kind of expecting one.
I was
actually.
expecting a Thrawn cameo,
Yeah.
especially
Either
with
Thrawn or Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I thought
yeah,
something
either-
would actually
either
be
one
there to
of
lead
them.
it in. Even though Filoni said that Filoni basically said, "Yeah, don't look for that."
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like you're just saying that.
Yeah, and
Well,
then
you know, and-
well, and that's when I thought about it too, when he was talking about how this last episode's gonna be so sad and stuff like that. I'm like, wasn't really.
Well,
rip
it kinda-
to
there
the
was-
Darksaber, man.
Hmm?
Rip to the Darksaber.
Yeah,
Well, sure.
yeah. Are they gonna? I mean,
Just something
they don't know.
I personally was not a fan of, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. I like it. I like it in a certain aspect. I just felt like there was just it felt like there was like no weight to that moment. Almost, it just came out of nowhere, came and went, and it was done. There was like no weight or actual focus on how big of a moment that should have been. It just kind of just happened.
I don't think it's
It was
gone
just like
forever. I think it's gonna be okay.
I mean, obviously, if they can rebuild Anakin's lightsaber,
They can rebuild any of them,
they can
you know.
rebuild
I was
that,
gonna say. I mean, the thing about that is that like Bo-Katan does, like she knows Jedi, so they might be able to remake that sword.
yeah, dude, you probably have Ahsoka come back and do it. I mean,
Yeah.
Ahsoka's not a Jedi even. I'm no Jedi, but she can come back and she can wield the shit out of them.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no Jedi. But I'm a Jedi. I'm not a Jedi, but and I think that's obviously where we're going with her series is she's gonna be a Jedi, but
Or it's like she never really wasn't. It's like
right, yeah.
I think her series is gonna be more like
How can you become something that you've always been?
right.
like-
I think her series is more gonna be like Anakin's Force Ghost still trying to train her and say like, no, those assholes just tried to tell you that and put that in your brain, but you've always been one.
Yeah, that would be hot.
Like something like that.
That would be top 10.
Yeah.
That'd be top 10 Star Wars moments for me if that were to happen in that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
but,
like, woof.
that would be pretty sick.
Woof.
All you hear is like snips in the background, and it's just like pans to him, and like it puts him into focus. And
It
he's,
would
like,
be
over her
good.
shoulder. Hot.
Yeah, because
Take it, use it.
I mean, yeah. Well,
Take it, use it.
people
No
know,
royalties needed.
Yeah,
Just
facts.
give me the happiness.
Just give it to me.
people know that he's in it. They just don't know if it's a ghost or if he. Oh, excuse me. They don't know if he's a ghost or if he's. It's gonna be flashbacks.
Oh, okay.
If it's flashbacks, well, Clean that CGI up. You can
Yeah.
tell that he's 40. All right.
Brings me back to that. What is it? The CGI looks rough, but it's nothing like the real Mark Hamill in the Christmas special. Oh, that was tough. That's tough, but hilarious.
I kind of take back as much as I love the Grogu part where he's mad and says no. My favorite part actually is when after the Darksabers broke and Din and Grogu come back out and you get to see like the teamwork and them like all each have their like moment like saving one another and like helping each other defeat Moff. I thought that was pretty well done. Overall, just the action overall, this whole episode was great.
Dude.
Like on a hype level. That's why when it was ending, I was like, this episode was awesome.
It's
just awesome.
When he just stands there and like the ship crashes in, that Axe was like diving in. I was like, oh crap! I was like, they're gonna all die, and then like the fire goes away and he's just like force shield. I was like, oh, that is amazing.
Yep,
amazing. I literally jumped up and I was standing in front of the TV with my thinking wings on, like looking. I'm like
thinking wings.
I'm like
full on dad mode,
dude. I swear, like I was like up there just hyping my shorts and cut off, just up there thinking wings and fully engaged. I'm like, how can this get any better? How? Just give it to me, please.
Yes.
But no, oh my God, unbelievable part. Finally, we get like an old school view of the Force and how it's used live action now. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, obviously we've seen the Force used a million times, but it's and you know, not the droids you're looking for, or you will loosen my restraints.
I remember,
you know,
I remember even like as the fire and all this coming out of the, you know, all of it, just it's all exploding. I sat there and I was like, man, if it's like if they really try to play this off as like Moff died and they somehow like just survived that shit, but then like when the flames cleared out and he was doing the Force thing, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, no complaint. No, that's awesome.
And honestly, I think between that moment and the Praetorian Guard coming, literally that was like Filoni and them saying, oh, you're going to be so sad. That was like them building the anticipation for those two moments.
Yeah.
And then obviously it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, but
a little fake out.
It was. Oh, you're going to be devastated by this episode. And I'm like, why? At the end, I go, I wasn't devastated by shit. I was like, this was a really, for the most part, a feel good episode. You know, towards the resolution. But
yeah.
So is it? What's Carl Weathers' character's name?
Grief Karga.
Yep.
Grief Karga. Okay. When he goes back, Grief Karga, and okay. So you guys are saying like it's time skip. I absolutely believe there's a time skip because of what Grief Karga says.
And what was that? I've been waiting to hear you. I know I heard it.
He literally says, you can have this plot of land. It's out here, blah, blah, blah. And he says the words, a nice place to take a breather in between, like during...
In adventures or whatever.
Between adventures.
Yeah.
And I was like, right there, I was like, that's literally saying how there is going to be a time skip.
Yeah.
I was like, I sat there, I was like, that means there's a time skip for the next season.
And he's got his feet up. You know, I mean,
right?
That in my
when it panned out and he's got his feet up, because then again, you know, the next shot is then he goes back to the rebel pilot on wherever the hell he was at. He's
Delphi,
and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for work, and he's like, you know, they're just basically like bantering back and forth, and he's like,
you want to work for the New Republic?
He's like
case by case basis.
He's like case
independent contract.
He's like case by case basis. He's like, enemy of my enemy is my friend, and he's like, I want to get rid of the Empire and the Outer Rim. And he's like, well, the Republic's not going to pay you. And he's like...
He'll never approve it. And he goes, that's why you won't tell him.
Yeah, he's like, they'll never approve it. And he goes, that's why you're not going to tell him.
He says, and I need an advance. That droid head.
So I got to ask you, did you notice what I said?
What's that?
there's a cameo
Oh yeah,
in
dude.
that shot.
Dude, Filoni just
Yeah.
chilling in the back, and Chow.
I saw him immediately.
Yeah,
I was like,
Chow, about to say there was 2 cameos.
I was like, when I messaged you guys, like, there's a cameo at the end.
Oh, cowboy hat.
It's like, you gotta, dead giveaway. I was like, there he is.
Yep.
I
I was sitting there watching.
saw
I was
the
like,
saw the cowboy hat and just this big gray and white beard. I was like, there he is.
That's
I
it.
heard that people said that they can hear him say Plo Koon in that scene. Like, you can hear him in the background.
I'd have to
of Plo
go
Koon.
back and watch it.
Something about Plo Koon.
Restore the Plo Koon verse.
I'm very upset. I'm very upset though that they're in the same bar, and like you could have had one more cameo with Zeb, and they just didn't.
I know.
I was really.
I was
I
anticipating
sat there.
it.
I was like, okay, where's Zeb? Where's Zeb?
I think
And
I
then
gripped
they
my
Give me the
fist.
Zeb.
just-
I think I like gripped my fist because I thought he was
Right.
gonna walk in and like
Yeah.
start talking to Mando, and I was
I
like,
thought it
"Oh,
was too.
let's go."
I was like sitting there. I was like, oh, fucking tell me you're about to have him team up with Zeb. I was like, please God, and then nothing. And I was like, well, that's actually very disappointing.
But
It's like-
I think to that point, I think that sets up when he does go on his adventures.
in
You know,
season 4, it'll probably be Zeb,
or
who he
at
tells him
least
to-
some. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, he may not help him all the time. You know, it might be different. It might be different people. You know, like that we know helping him. We don't know how long this is
Fucking
going to be.
screw it. Well, we get Ahsoka already, and then that can be a little test run, and then now with season 4 Amanda, when he goes and does these case-by-case jobs, okay, so you get to do a job with Zeb in one episode, you get to do a job with Harrison Dula in one episode, and you get to do a job with Sabine in one episode, and that one will be great, because she's Mandalorian, and so are you, so, and he's going to be like,
And she has a lightsaber.
Yeah.
well, verdicts, obviously that's Ezra's,
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, obviously it has to be, and she's just using it. You know.
I guess,
But,
yeah,
but still, she has one.
but it's going to be great.
Oh,
Still
I
gonna be
also
Because Mando's
heard.
gonna be like, dude, you got some funky ass colored armor, and she's gonna be like, thanks, I painted it myself.
I'm a rebellious young teen Mandalorian and living in an adult's body still.
Correct. Correct.
I also heard that like the Force shield or Force bubble that Grogu did was a callback to like Ezra doing it in Rebels or something at some point.
He did.
Kanan does it too.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
both do. Mm-hmm.
Kanan does it to. That's how Kanan dies. Is he's shielding a blast wave so that
Spoilers.
they can get away.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
So we're already in a spoiler section. Spoilers within a spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, another part we didn't even talk about was obviously Din Grogu.
Oh yeah. I don't know how I feel. I got confused at that. How does last names work and stuff work then?
Din is like a surname.
Bo
Din is
and is
Din-
Kreese just the house name? Is that not their
The
last
clan
name?
name.
Clan. Yeah. Clan.
The
Kreese.
house is Visla.
Visla and Clan.
It's like a
Kreese.
caste system, almost. Like it's like the house, then you have your clans, and then you got your little families within that clan.
And that's why Paz is such a badass because he's a Visla.
Yeah, yeah. That's why Paz was directly descended from
The Visla
the Visla.
patronage.
So
or
why
whatever.
is Vizsla second in his name? Wouldn't that be first then? Because now
not all the
Grogu,
same.
because now Grogu is Din Grogu.
I don't know.
It's-
why they
it's-
did
it- it's
Why
not
they
all-
did
it's
That was
it.
the one thing I confused.
It's not
I
all
was
the
like,
same.
wait,
It's not
wait.
all the
It
same.
might
Different
not-
sects have different ways
It-
of distributing their
Yeah.
name. It's like okay. So a good example, and not a lot. You know, some of you might know, but a good example is like Thrawn. So Thrawn's name is Mithron Yorodo. It's his full name, and Myth is the family he belongs to. So Myth Thrawn.
I hate their long ass fucking names in
Yeah.
these books.
Yeah, it is.
Actually reading it, it's like, hold on. Yeah, every time I see that, I'm just gonna still just in my head Thrawn. Just 'cause, like they literally like for some shits, it's like all spelled out.
Well, you should read the page when he's trying to say his name to Anakin, because he's trying to say his name and like literally back and forth. It's like, Mithron Yorodo. No, Mithron Yorodo. It's like that's what I said, Mithron Yorodo, and literally it's like it says it like 20 times in this one paragraph. It's
And he's like, no, Thrawn Yoda, and he's like Mithron Yoda. Yeah, and I get what you mean.
yeah, because there's a whole bunch of different houses, so it's like Din I think is not necessarily his name as much as it is kind of like a title.
Think of it as like here
like
on
a,
Earth,
like a family.
like
kinda.
our first name is first, like name, like family name is last name. But in like Japan, I'm pretty sure the family name is always first in the pronunciation.
To honor the family.
To honor the family, and then the actual name of the individual is second. So, whatever. It's a fucking toss-up the way they did it.
Yeah, and it depends on what family line you come from. It depends on where you come from. They came from Concordia. It could be completely different for Children of the Watch. It could be, or Din Djarin, that name could have come from whatever village he was in, and that's just how they do things in that singular village. And
the parents thing was, again, a little cheesy. It's like, bro, we don't even know what this thing is.
Neither does George Lucas either.
Yeah, no, he has no idea.
He forgot to build a backstory for Yoda and just said, nobody knows. Like, that's exactly right. That's the thing. I wish that was a joke, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. He just...
Like, someone's just got to eventually come along and just make it up for him because, no one knows.
Dude, and that interview was so cool when he talks about how, like, Obi-Wan was supposed to be him through the whole thing, but he realized that, like, he couldn't do that. That's so cool. That's such a cool interview. But a lot of theories that right after when he was like in the water that he was communicating with the Mythosaur.
I thought that's what that was.
Definitely seemed like that's what they were doing.
I thought that was the whole reason of like when he's in the water and he's like reaching, and then it like pans in and goes through all those these caverns, and then like the eye opens to the Mythosaur. I was like, okay, well, Ezra did that in Rebels, so why is that not? And then we see it even in Bad Batch that the Wookiees that are Force sensitive do it. So it's like I believe he was communicating with the Mythosaur.
Well, Grogu gonna ride that Mythosaur.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, and honestly, really, what I think a good example was the Duchess. And a few episodes ago, when he was secretly using the Force to benefit the person that he liked. Mm. I think that he can use that real well for Bo-Katan or for Din Djarin.
Yeah.
I mean, if he puts his hand, like he did with the Rancor, if he do it to a Rancor, he can do it to that. I mean, and that's the thing. And now he's getting especially better with the Force and more attuned with it. I mean, anywhere he's near it, he puts his hand on it and calm it down, and either one of them could ride it, or he could be, now that he's an apprentice, he's actually a Mandalorian.
And I love then the last shot so she lights the furnace and it goes on, and like you hear this too all the time in Clone Wars and from Rebels, and you just hear the one like axe just for Mandalore. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then it echoes throughout
for
the
Mandalore.
chamber. Oh yeah,
I love
bracers.
And then the sound was them just smacking their bracers together.
I
was like that's
they
pretty sick.
Like,
dude,
yeah.
It's like Sparta of Star Wars, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
Like, because even in the Clone Wars episodes when Pre Vizsla, that is his name is Pre Vizsla is the psycho that's leading all the Vizslas to try to overthrow the government. It's every time they get in a fight, he lights the dark saber. He's like, for Mandalore, and like he charges them all in, and it's like, man, I just loved it.
Oh, it's so.
So
good.
I really hope season 4 still like. Oh, bye guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Star mark. Oh, just about there.
Just about, but we're finishing up though. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, then obviously, I don't think, is there anything else that we missed throughout that? So we got obviously the relighting of the forge. We got the parent, obviously the name Din got passed down.
The robot's back.
The robot's
back again.
He's the marshal now.
Awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. A really good full circle for him.
The weird thing, and I guess it would make sense that if they are just going to do a time skip for season 4, is just everything felt very series finale about this.
It did.
It did.
And there was no post-credit scenes either.
Yeah, this was actually the one episode I scrolled to the end.
Same.
So I was like,
same.
This is a pretty clean ending.
I did too, because this was kind of like it was a happy ending, even though we thought we were going to get a sad endings, but no, it was happy endings all around, so they got us. They definitely said like, oh yeah, you'll be sad, but it ended up being like you said, that was just all to get you anticipated in suspense for like, oh my god, is he gonna die?
Yeah.
Is he gonna die? And yeah, so I thought it was, and like you even said, like it does the fade-in circle close to him
so
playing
cool.
with the fish and stuff.
So
and,
cool. I love it.
Like his feet are up on the thing, and they're just sitting out on the front porch, and I was like, okay, wholesome ending. I'm not mad at it at all.
Well, and it was so purposeful too. I think that there was no post-credit scene because I think that they can't touch on things that would happen next season without spoiling Ahsoka, and it's spoiling like a lot of other things that are going to play into the next season in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So I think that like it had to be purposeful that there was no post-credit scene, and it because there's so much that's going to be going on here that they can't touch they can't dip their toe in the water.
I love how much actually like clapback they've kind of gotten about them using that outro. Like,
Really?
I call it the Looney Tunes outro.
That's what I did too.
It's weird to me because they're like, what is this like circle out thing? I'm like, go back to the old movies. I'm sorry. Like, I know it's not an outro, but they definitely circle in with intros where they open with a circle. So it's like, it's really just the reverse of that. I don't know why you're so butthurt about this random little thing.
Star Wars fandom and their toxicity.
I mean, I kind of liked it, and I feel like it fit the
bitch.
ending. Like it's a happy ending, and usually
For once.
like
For once.
usually the old like school of thought with like using that as a closeout outro is like you're kind of ending and focusing on like the heart of the story. So it makes sense like artistically too why they would choose that too, because they're ending on Grogu and Din, and they're like the heart of the story.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they're like keeping the focus on them at the very end. So
and brother, here's the thing: at the end of the day, all I want to see is a big old time jump, so I can see Grogu sitting in some Mandalorian armor, slanging a blade.
we can only hope.
Oh,
Won't be the Dark Shiv though.
Well,
Could be the Dark Shiv.
well, honestly, why wouldn't they? Because if
Why wouldn't they make a dark shiv?
or why would I mean
Maybe that crystal's fine in that broken hill,
bingo,
and they'll just make a dark shiv.
bingo. And if they have the Mythosaur, what do they need the Darksaber for?
Maybe they're just setting him again. They're just setting him up to eventually be the ruler of Mandalore. He's gonna force control the Mythosaur, and he's gonna have a dark shiv.
I wouldn't be
I'm
surprised.
like
if they're
I'm like
king and
partially
queen.
torn on what I want them to do with it, because I actually kind of really do like the Darksaber, but it almost in a way could be a good thing for Mandalore that it just doesn't exist anymore. You don't have this like arbitrary prop essentially that you're fighting over for power. It allows Mandalore to like what Bo wants is we're stronger together.
And
and
then
they don't have to hold on to this ideal that just because some asshole has a sword,
You have to follow.
You have to follow him.
especially
Like
when
we're getting rid of the old traditions.
well,
Like,
right. And the thing is, like,
evolving.
a big time line that kind of set that up earlier in last episode was when Bo-Katan was talking to Din when Din said, "I'll serve you until your story's written."
yeah,
because
he tells her
he tells her it doesn't mean anything to us. I only know what you told me.
Mhm.
He literally, because he tells her, he's like, it's not the fact of your lineage or the fact you wield around a sword. He's like, it's your honor.
Yeah,
Which obviously then compelled her to spill the beans on like why she failed in the first place.
right. Which got her what she wanted. She owned up to what she did, and they respected her for that. And honor, respect, and loyalty is what they want. So
Do you guys have now? So obviously the popular theory going around was the armorer was going to be the second spy. I did not believe that theory because one, I felt like it was too obvious, and two, in the intro, her helmet is in blue. So I was like, unless the intro is finally going to lie to us and give us a little curveball, I'm going to believe she's good. I think Axe was up there, but my girl Sasha.
Oh,
Casca Reeves. The way she was introduced, the hood, like almost like a Sith or a Jedi with the hood. That's how she originally was introduced. And I can't help shake this feeling. She makes me really uncomfortable anytime she's ever around Grogu. I don't like how she stares at him. Like, that's just something that's always stuck out to me, but they never pulled the trigger on it. I kind of hope it's not true. I hope I'm wrong, honestly.
yeah.
Also, she pulled out. I don't know if you guys saw that. She pulled out the knee darts like Boba Fett has.
Oh, the knee
knee
rockets.
Yeah, I saw the knee rockets. That was
sweet.
Sick. Yes. But it would make sense though, because they barely had her in this season.
Yeah,
I know.
True.
Like
just cameos. Almost.
She literally had like a couple lines. I think.
She doesn't wrestle anymore, right? So
no, she does. She wrestles in New Japan now.
Oh, so maybe it was just
she doesn't work in WWE anymore.
So maybe it's probably not scheduling conflicts then or anything.
I wouldn't think so. She's kind of big enough now that she can probably be like, yo, I need to take 2 months off. or however
That's
long.
the
Well,
only
with that, she probably didn't need to take 2 months off because but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. She's big enough now that it's like she's the champion in New Japan right now. But I'm sure if she ever has like if Mando season 4 comes around and she's actually like a big part of it, she'll
Why
probably
she
be like,
leave
well,
WWE?
I'll drop the title, get injured for a few months, and then I'll come back after I'm done filming.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just something because it really, really bugs me that it was named Spies plural, and we only got one. Like
Well,
it has, and like you, and then
there
what you
still
said
are.
earlier, I'm just like, I kind of want to go back and just see like maybe if she, or if maybe like you said like that scene you guys are talking about with Axe that I saw this frustration, but it seemed like you guys took a different interpretation than I did, so I would kind of like to go back and watch that again.
Yeah, I think that the one scene, the one moment that I really was like, was like when he put his stuff on and he sat in the captain's chair and he was just like trying to defend, but at the same time like trying to dip and help his people. Like, I think that there was like almost like a conflict of, do I send them all out and take care of them like I'm supposed to, or do I do what the armorer and what Bo-Katan told me to do?
Yeah. Maybe it'll be in season 4 for his character arc that he'll say like, I gotta confess that like I was actually like trying to get y'all killed, but I just couldn't betray my people or something. I don't know.
Because still, in my honest opinion, I think that the way that Moff Gideon got out was the Mandalorian privateers, and I think that that's when Axe Woves was in charge of them.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that, I do this. Well, if I help you, if I tell your other Mandalorians what you did.
I think
but again,
ultimately that's why they're both kind of on my 2 suspect list. Axe kind of took himself away this episode a little bit.
But I will say
Casca's
the whole
still on
privateer
there.
things, like the pilot just says like it's Beskar, these were Mandalorians, and then then you see the Dark Trooper suit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, that's so to me, that's who.
But that would make sense too. True. But they also did allude to. Well, weren't they in like an old Imperial ship when they showed up? Like whenever they finally actually showed up, because when they were going after the Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah, they're in the light cruiser. It's an Imperial cruiser.
Because Casca actually has a line about like, well, I thought you Mandalorian were honorable, and she was like, yeah, honorable, and something about money, like like that, and it was like,
yeah. So maybe she is the spy. Maybe she is.
I just feel like there still has to be one out there. Maybe not. Maybe they just made it plural to throw us off. But no, you said that they already. I keep forgetting that they kind of said that they kind of hinted at if you catch it, you.
Yeah, I don't think it was directly explicitly said, but I think like they answered the question without answering the question. Like they especially like once like the way that Wolves handles himself and the way like you said that he was like trying to get everybody. I think he finally kind of had to come to Jesus that we're all Mandalorians and we're stronger together, because that's obviously literally like a motto of the whole show, like the message. Mandalorians are stronger together. Mm-hmm. And I think like even though, like you said, I'm on board with you where next season, I think he'll have kind of like a come to Jesus moment or somebody's going to bust him out, and then a Thrawn character would say like, you helped us, like, and point right at him or something like that, something along those lines where he's going to be, or somebody's going to be involved with that situation.
So I guess final question I have for you boys before we wrap up: where does this season rank among the 3 that have been out so far? Where do you put it?
It's hard. It's a hard ask.
I actually got that's hard because I actually got like 2 answers.
Really?
Well, if you're like me and him, this is probably the best of the 3 because it brings in all this crap, like all these characters and kind of this nostalgia and wrapping up storylines from past like shows with Clone Wars and Rebels. So like the payoff for ourselves who are more involved and invested in this whole story, it's amazing. But if you're only watching the Mandalorian show, you don't watch any of the extra animated stuff.
Season 1 would be the best.
Season 1 is probably the best for you because it's original.
It's the best Mandalorian
season.
I think this is some of the best Star Wars that we've gotten.
Yeah.
this season
So
in general.
that's
Star
why I
Wars.
have two answers. Is
Yeah.
like if you're a casual watcher, I mean, when they get into these characters from season 2, you're just sitting there like, hey, who the hell? Okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last episode's like, oh, Luke, awesome. And then with this season especially, since they delve more into it's Bo-Katan is so involved, it's like, yeah, are you really appreciating this as much if like you hadn't watched Clone Wars and Rebels
Exactly.
to know like her backgrounds?
And the way they set up each season is like, first one was, this is the Mandalorian. This is Din Djarin. This is Grogu.
They should just rename the show to Mandalorians, plural.
Yeah, or just Mandalorian. Just in general, not one, because all of them, but all of them are.
Yeah.
But then second season is integration of Clone Wars and Rebels and all this other stuff. Now season 3 is open the gates. This is just Star Wars universe now.
Right.
Because it's so integral with Bo-Katan and Din and all.
Yeah.
Din was non-existent 5 years ago.
Right.
That many years ago, he was not anywhere. Now we've catapulted him into this season of this is literally an extension of Rebels. So
that's pretty much what this show has been. Like Filoni had got to, he came back in. Because I don't think Filoni was Filoni wasn't a part of season 1.
No, it was Favreau.
It was all Favreau. So then Filoni got to come back in, once like people were like, oh, people really like this, and we need Filoni and blah blah blah. Then Filoni basically came back in and was like, well, I want to finish shit I started.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and so that's why I have two answers.
Yeah.
I don't really, definitively, I cannot non-biasedly say,
3 is my personal favorite.
Yeah. For me, this has been the best season.
But the best Mandalorian season is 1.
Yeah.
When you meet him and he's going out and doing his bounty hunter thing, and we're building a new character, we're building up this relationship.
We're just establishing this character and Grogu and all this stuff. We're establishing all of this in the universe. But then, then the continuation of it, it's like, oh, I need to probably go back and watch all this other stuff to know the backgrounds of these new characters that have come in.
Which, for people, if you don't know, prepare yourself, because if you try to pick up Star Wars a year from now, you're not going to know what the hell's going on. Get with it now. Start watching these. Start watching all the other shows. Start watching some of the when you go on Disney, there's a whole list of necessary Clone Wars episodes.
Yeah, they give them to you.
Literally, they tell you which ones you have to watch. They're spoon-feeding this information to you to say, you need to watch this. If you don't watch the whole thing,
they do
fine,
it for Clone Wars because Clone Wars is 7 seasons.
Well, correct, but
for
still,
Rebels is only 4 seasons, and even with Rebels, I think the last 2 seasons are shorter.
Yes,
so they're just probably like, well, just watch it all.
Well, right, but that's the thing. It's like that. Yes, just watch it all. But it's like you said, with the how many seasons, how many episodes per season they had. They're telling you. This is the pertinent information that you're going to need to move forward in this universe. And if you don't, you won't appreciate it as much as you should.
Yeah, but with Clone Wars, the first 6 seasons, they each have 24 episodes. So, that's a lot.
Dude, and it's like a full-time job watching that shit, too.
Yeah,
you sit down and you're like, bro.
Well,
I feel like and they're so short, I feel like all I'm doing is watching the intro. I'm like, I feel like it just plays on repeat in my head when I'm watching it, because they're so short episodes that you don't skip them either.
And it's funny too that
you get to see the same intro 1,000 times.
Our dedicated listener that we know we have for sure.
Shout out, Jan.
That will hear this. He said to me, he's like, "Oh, I did actually follow that order you gave me," and I was like, "Good," because that's how Clone Wars makes sense. Unfortunately, is you have to watch it in this order.
Like how you put in, did you watch the shitty movie first? Or
I didn't mind the movie. Stop it. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
That's kind of bad.
Oh, get a grip. If you like Clone Wars, you should like that. Come on.
I feel
It's
like
the same
so
shit.
actually remind me. Give me a quick rundown.
I mean, it's kind of bad. I mean, the whole thing is like Ahsoka's annoying.
She's annoying, and when she's young, she's annoying. As
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, she's annoying. Period. And Filoni even come out and say he's like, "Well, I did that on purpose."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fair then.
Yeah.
The movie is because they save the shithead Hutt, right?
Oh yeah.
The nephew of Jabba.
Yeah.
They save him. They save his ass.
Yeah.
I think.
Is it Zero?
Yeah, I was about to
They
say
Zero.
Zero, or I was
Isn't
about
it-
to just start with an X.
Isn't I
Or
thought
Zeno or something.
something.
Isn't he in? No.
Well,
No, he
one of
wouldn't
them, Zero's in a whole bunch of the Rebels and stuff, and like Mandalorian, Clone Wars and stuff. He's in it. Like,
Yeah.
I
Never
think
mind.
he's always getting.
But
in
they
trouble.
say, I think that is they save Zero, right?
I think it's Zero. Pretty sure.
It's either Zero or it's Jabba's kid.
I don't think it's Jabba's son in that. It might be.
Because they do save Jabba's kid at one point during all of it. Because that's the whole thing, is
Because
that...
that's the one he's like with that other one, like they're in love or something like that, isn't it? Or is that in Clone Wars? when they
It
do
might
that?
actually be the movie that they have to save Jabba's kid.
Might be.
And yeah, I think, okay, so I'm screwing it up. No. I think that is the... Shut up.
Siri, come on.
God.
See, you get this big old new watch, and now
Oh,
it's,
like
it's
my other one
bitching
didn't
at
do
you.
the same fucking shit.
Well, this one's 2 for 2 today.
It is. That's what the movie is. The movie is that the Separatists secretly kidnap his son, and they work with Zero to accomplish it.
That's right. That's right.
Padme's on Coruscant finding that out, right? I
Yes.
think this is the movie. I don't think this is during the seasons.
I swear.
Because I want to say, too, that the season... Because that's the thing, is like they go back to Tatooine all the time, even during the seasons.
Well, yeah, because I think Padme even shows up at like a battle or something, and like doesn't Anakin have to save her or something, or is that in the series too? To me, I don't know how to differentiate.
I haven't
between the
watched
movie
it in
and the
a very-
series.
I haven't-
They're all the same to me.
I have
so.
not watched it in a very long time. But I do know this is the movie, yes, because I remember that like they have to go to Tatooine and Anakin
That's
doesn't.
creative as shit. He's using the little thing that the mic sits on to read his text message, and I'm sitting there
Oh,
watching
there
him
you go.
roll with it.
Jesus.
Got to be
But
creative.
that's what it is. That is the movie because then they go to Tatooine and Anakin's pissed the whole time. Ahsoka's like, "Why are you being a shithead?" And he eventually finally tells her he's like, "I grew up here. My mom died here. I have never wanted to come back to this planet, and here I am."
Mm-hmm.
And then like he fights Dooku alone in this and like on it and shit and like other crap and like yeah, the whole thing about it is Dooku's manipulating Jabba. It's trying to get Jabba because they're trying to work. They're basically trying to the sides are trying to get in favor with the Hutts.
Yeah, they're trying to get that. They're basically trying to use that as a route for supplies
Trades
and
and
stuff.
supplies and stuff. So like that's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of big battle scenes and a lot of droid battles and stuff like that. It's honestly, dude, it's the fucking same as the rest of the Clone Wars. It's just a bunch of droids blowing each other up and Jedis and everybody running around going crazy and lots of booms, explosions, and war and politics. It's just an extended episode.
I just love like Ahsoka shows up and she's very cocky youngling.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because like they're told the whole time how Anakin is now since he's knighted or he's in knighthood because of the war, he's so Obi-Wan technically no longer has a Padawan. So like they tell him like you're getting a new one and then she shows up and she's like, "No, Master Yoda said that I am his Padawan." And Anakin, like, the whole time is, like, against it. And he's like, "I don't want to train this kid." And, like, they make a joke. They make the joke about how, like, can you actually see Anakin, like, training younglings or something? He goes, "God, I'd probably kill him or something."
Yeah.
They make that joke. And it's just funnier than hell.
Yeah.
It's like, haha, you did! Like, you do that!
He does do that.
Yeah, like, you do that! Yeah.
It was funny until it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, I think I kind of have a weird season ranking list probably compared to most, just because I have a little bit of knowledge that you guys have given me without watching the show.
Oh yeah, back to the main point. Yeah,
Yes.
kind of went on a tangent there.
Yeah.
I think my order is actually 2, 3, 1.
Oh okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. 2 was hot.
I do agree with your statement that season 1 is probably the best, like pure just Mando season. Like, and when I rank them, they're all like pretty close for me. 2 probably has a little bit more of an edge than probably the most do, but I would say 3 and 1 are pretty close. The only reason, hype wise, I definitely got more hype in season 3, but from like a writing perspective, season 3 tends to kind of be a little all over the place. Kind of messy, and I think that is kind of shown in the viewership this year or this season. Because obviously, as you guys have alluded to, if you guys have seen Clone Wars and Rebels, this season is awesome. You get a lot of callbacks and Easter eggs and finishing of old story threads or continuations of. But if you haven't,
constantly answers questions that you might have.
I
like,
see
if you have that
people
knowledge.
all over complaining about how this show is supposed to be the Mandalorian. This show's not about Din or Grogu anymore. It's about Bo-Katan and all these other people I don't care about. I'm like, shut up, Bo-Katan. Even I don't have nearly the time investment that you guys have in Bo. I really only know Bo from the show and the history that you guys have given me.
Yeah.
I love her as a character. She's
and
awesome.
Fantastic. And
she has such a cool story arc. Granted, they probably told you a lot of that arc a little too late, hence they saying it. Well, that is another gripe too. Like, what was it, last episode or this episode, where she finally admits that she surrendered the Dark Blade?
She surrendered it.
Yeah, because we always wondered how that actually happened and how he got into.
I feel like they probably should have said that earlier in the season.
And then the other thing too is like from the live action, you don't hear her story in this show. You have to watch Book of Boba Fett.
And I think that's a big problem because we finally got, for anybody who doesn't know about Bo-Katan, you finally get some backstory on her, like this episode or last episode, about how she surrendered. And
I think it still works in a way, but it's just less effective than it could have been.
I feel like it's less effective for a new reader.
Sure.
Maybe for you guys, because you guys know enough, you know something.
We knew the minute we saw her, like how much she means to the show. You know, I mean, I guess that's why we're easier to come to terms with it, because we're like, oh, she's here, okay. This is okay. That's the Mandalorian, okay.
Yeah, like I mean, he and I were like during season 2, we were like texting each other, and like I watched it when they like the second when they're on this boat. And, like, Din can barely see or something, and then, like, they're captured, and Grogu's gonna get fed to this crap, and, like, I just see a Mandalorian flip over in blue armor. I lost my shit, because I knew immediately what it was, and I was like, oh my god, yes, and...
Heard the female voice, and I was like...
yeah, I saw the owl painting white, I was like, oh my god. It's all being connected. Yeah. And I'll say this to that. It makes sense to me why even you, as someone who hasn't watched all that old stuff like we have, still ranked it in the order you did. Because here's what I say to the people that are kind of griping about all this is like, well, what was the direction the show was really supposed to go in then? After watching season 1, like, what was the direction then? Like, what, just more of him going out and bounty hunting, and then he just somehow happens to get tangled up in Empire fights? That doesn't seem like too great of a show to me.
Well,
I mean,
and the direction they're going now is what people really want.
Yeah. Right.
The adventures.
Most people have watched everything, so it's like, well, have it connect. Like, because again, that's like...
Mandoverse.
That's why we bitch and hate the sequel trilogy, is because it doesn't really connect
with anything
to the other original, to the 6. It just
even the stuff that was remotely familiar, they completely redid it. You know, that's why people didn't like it.
Like the sequel trilogy, it used characters, but they didn't really relate outside of like Kylo Ren's weird obsession with the evil part of his grandfather. It's like, okay, why is this character like missing the fact that the dude still got redeemed in the end?
Yeah.
But I would say this to the people that are like complaining about how like, oh, this is now a Bo-Katan show, or this is now just the Filoniverse expanding more. It's like, well, I just don't really know like what other direction the show could have gone in. And I can kind of get if you're sitting there kind of casually watching this, like, yeah, it makes sense you put season 1 kind of low, because it's like you would kind of sit there like how he and I were saying about Andor the first half. You probably are sitting there like, okay, but why am I watching this?
Yep.
What's this relate to with Star Wars?
And then they connect it.
And then they finally connected it all with like the fight against the Empire and this whole Moth thing, and then expanding into the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Which to me, like, after I had watched Clone Wars and Rebels, I was like, I feel like this is where Star Wars should have went. Like, we should have been, yes, done with the Jedi, and then we could have went to these Mandalorian people that are like close enough to that, but a lot different.
Exactly. And the thing is that, you know, obviously we've been looking for a big bad for so long, a new big bad, you know, because obviously Palpatine coming back again wouldn't go over too well. So let's just be honest here. There's always going to be 2 Sith in the galaxy, but that doesn't always have to be the big bad. There can be something bigger and badder than the Sith.
Like I said, Palpatine can come back as a clone one more time to fight Ahsoka, and that's literally it.
I would take a fight in the
she fights Maul and Vader, so it's like, well, you might as well have
the trifecta.
Yeah. Like, you might as well. She fights Dooku plenty of times. She fights Maul. World
between worlds fight with him would be sweet.
Right. Like,
that would be a cool little, and that'd be an easy way to do it too, because you wouldn't have to do it too well. Honestly, it wouldn't have to be like the greatest thing on camera. It would just be like it could even be an encounter using the Force, you know, just as like.
Maybe, like I said, Dave, if you're actually listening, because I think you are,
please,
because I legitimately have been saying already for like months about how I've been wanting this to close out with an awesome like movie of Star Wars Avengers, and the whole fact that now you are greenlit a movie to finish your Mandoverse. Fine, give me a frickin' Palpatine clone fighting a fully like Grandmaster level Ahsoka is like the send off.
Oh,
fine.
I think
I'm good.
We're gonna get the Grisk though. That's gonna be where it goes. I mean,
but if we just got that though, it'd be great. Because then I would say that like people would be like, yeah, but the sequels suck. I'd be like, no, they're fine now because you gotta go watch this shit. Just like I've done with Clone Wars and the prequels.
Yeah, dude. Seriously, that's like, remember what was it last week? I said, and I was like, I don't like that I'm gonna say this, but after all of this, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna obviously take all this in, and then I'm gonna start the new stuff, and I'm gonna see how I feel about it without any bias. I'm gonna go in and choosingly not have bias. I'm gonna go in, sit, and watch it by myself, and I'm gonna see how it flows from all this new content that was supposedly building it up, and more to come. We'll see how they age with this with Filoni-verse adding some footing to it.
Did Filoni, aka the goat. Did he do it again?
He's the goat. He's the goat.
But I think that wraps up this week.
That's it.
I would say yes.
We
overshot the goal there.
We overshot. We thought we were done 20 minutes ago, and we just kept rambling. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what we're gonna review next week. We haven't have anything, so we're
nothing.
So be an interesting few weeks. Without maybe any reviews. So maybe we'll come up with different things to do to end the show off after news. Maybe little fun things to talk about.
Well, we have always also discussed retro reviewing stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We could potentially talk about that. And we'll obviously talk in the group chat this week and figure out what we'll do to make up for the reviews. But yes, obviously if you stayed tuned once again to the 2 hour and 23-minute mark, we appreciate you so much.
Good God.
Once again, this is why we were breaking these.
We have segments now.
Yeah, we have segments now. So if you hated your life for the whole 2 hour and 23 minutes, don't worry. We'll have a smaller segment so you can divulge into what you truly, truly care about. Of course, if you can't watch on YouTube or watch a video, you can find an audio-only version on Spotify. Those are always up on Tuesday, I believe. KP's a little more punctual about getting the Spotify audio-only one up. I sometimes, especially with working on the house, I'm a little behind. Try to get them on Tuesday, but hopefully by Wednesday. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
That is why we are tardy to the party.
Yeah, hence why we love this name, Tardy to the Party.
So appreciate you
might
all.
start dropping that a little earlier, maybe on Mondays now, since we're gonna be a little more stretched out with where we're dropping. So yeah,
So expect it soon.
Get on it.
expect it pretty soon.
If you guys do like that short form content, though, please let me or us know. Like, comment on it. Make sure. But I know you guys actually like it, or if you guys actually do just prefer the long form content, I would appreciate any feedback. But as always, anyway, just like, comment, subscribe. It helps us. If you guys are subscribed, you aren't getting notifications, try ringing that little bell notification icon. You guys should get notified when we post a new video. But until next time, I'm your boy, J Sib.
And I'm KP.
And it's your boy, the Bull.
See ya later.
Yeah.